beautiful people. How the devil are we all? I'm very well, I thank you for asking. The thing you see on the screen before you is, I mean, a combination of both hilarity and enormous seriousness. That is a guy dressed as Pikachu, inflatable Pikachu, at the Turkish protests slash riots, whatever you want to call them. And it's definitely a guy. I mean, obviously, this is why women live longer, you know? What a timeline. What a fucking timeline. Anyway.
Stop it.
Oh.
Get some help.
Okay. Thank you, Cupcake Chaos, with 51 months. Let's go, indeed. Thank you to KSO128 with 36 months. Pikachu. Yes.
That is a stiff dick of poop.
It is. And whatever the hell that was. I don't know what the stiff dick of poop was. It hasn't told me. But we're on a hype train. If we get to level 2 of the hype train, I will finger... what will I finger? What has died recently? I don't know.
That is a stiff dick of
My
poop.
Will to Live, maybe? I'm not sure. I'll let YouTube decide a fascist who's dead fascist to finger. How about that, YouTube? What do you reckon? Also, on that point, hello Ronnie, who's been a member for 7 months. Thank you very much. I don't know what I'm saying in the slightly weird voice, but I said it. Thank you, Lord Fritus, for gifting a subby sub. Thank you to Main Captain for gigantifying an emo. Thank you, Phil Decker, with the 100 bitty bits. You people are very generous. Suspiciously generous. What the fuck are you after? That's what I want to know. You're insisting upon yourself right now. Insisting. What the fuck am I talking about? Anyway, we're going to be on with No Justice MTG in a second. Because we've got an actually good person on Question Time this week. Can you believe it? Can you Adam and Eve it? Biologist who enjoys being called a slut in the bedroom, call that biodegradable. Okay, that is pretty funny, to be fair. 255. I asked AI to make a picture of you as a 1710s highwayman. That works. I could have that as a profile pic. Definitely. Hang on a minute, I need to fucking show everyone, don't I? Boom. There we go. That's me. A very oddly specific 1710s highwayman. Because, of course, as you well know, chat, I'm the dandy highwayman that you're too scared to mention. I spend my cash on looking flash and grabbing your attention. Is it the devil take your stereo and your record collection? Something next year's old age pension. Stand and deliver your money or your life. Oh. I met Adamant once. He was fat and old by that point. Anyway. Yes, so we're going to be on with No Justice MTG. I'm just going to send her the thing and we'll have a look. Will it be the only time Gary gets on? Probably, yes. I imagine so, because he's going to tell the truth. And that's not allowed. You have to play the game. What was the one with Diana Dawes in the video as a fairy godmother? What the fuck is... What fucking fever dream are you talking about, Sean? Diana Dawes in the video as a fairy godmother? In any case, was your picture sufficiently ghibli? Oh, it was, yeah. So there's this stupid fucking... trend going around on the social medias. to make things look like Studio Ghibli, which is a type of anime. I don't fucking even know. A thing, right? It's a specific type of animation. So I just asked someone to Ghiblify the picture of me and Rory Cats, and it's actually cute as fuck. I think we can all agree. And it has taken pounds off me, and I'll be honest, added pounds to Rory Cats. They did my boy dirty. Prince Charming, ridiculous, nothing to be scared of. Don't you ever. I wasn't expecting to do adamant related material tonight. Maybe I'll kick into ant music next, and then I will have exhausted the number of songs by Adam the Ants that I know. Studio Ghibli is awesome. You watch him as well. I'm told it's very good, but I don't fucking know what it is. Why did it give Kev an afro? Yeah, I have no idea why it gave me an afro. I can't possibly say. I do have big hair. Also, hello there, a cat on YouTube. How are you? Hopefully you're well. Yes, we're going to be looking at question time, which isn't... It won't be up yet, will it? No. Oh, pardon me. Anyway, yeah, you can do bits messages and all that shit. You can do super chats. You can... why have I started there? I'm so confused tonight. You can become a member. You can hit the follow button. You can become a member on Blue Sky. No, you can't. That's not a thing. You can become... I need to take my fucking meds. I'm not on meds. Right. Let's go from the top. You can be. You can. Oh. It's going to be one of those nights, people. Oh, my hair's gone really mental now. Fuck. Anyway. You can follow me here on twitch.tv/KFLogan1875. You can become a member. You can become a member via Amazon Prime. If you've got Amazon Prime, link that to your Twitch account. You get one free subscription every month, which you can use on shit channels like mine that need the money. You can do bits messages. 200 bits or more will get you a text-to-speech. You can do super chats. $2 or more will get you a text-to-speech. That's via the Streamlabs link below. I've got a Patreon and PayPal. I've got Discord, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Threads. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube. You can subscribe for fuck all. You can hit the like button. You can become a member for 99 pence. You can give memberships to the community. And you can do super chats, which I'll read out, especially if they are unfathomably offensive. Also, can someone go and tell No Justice, who is streaming and therefore presumably not checking her fucking Twitter DMs, that I've sent her the link? She should go and check her Twitter DMs. Look, I could do it. I could just go into her chat and be like, oh, check your DMs. But that would look weird and stalkery, and that's not my vibe. Look at my hair. I've got more of a kind of Grizzly Adams, wild hermit man look, rather than like a stalker look. How do you not have each other's real phone numbers? Who uses a phone in 2025? Boomer. Or a WhatsApp or something. Have you not seen the trouble that the American defense industry is currently in? Or not industry, but the government. Like, Why would we do that? Why would I reveal my national secrets in a fucking, was it Signal or Single group or whatever the fuck that's called? I didn't even know that was a thing. I was still doing fucking WhatsApp and all that bollocks. You look like you have the look of a seawater thirstiness for this person to join. You have a look of seawater thirstiness. Don't know what you mean, friend. Don't know what you mean. Diana Dawes in the video for Prince Charming. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you everyone for the hype train. I've got to go and finger someone. Oh, that's a point. Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll set a goal, if I remember how to do that. One super chat. We'll set the timer for 2 hours. I don't fucking care. Who shall I go knuckle deep on? Question mark. An error has occurred. Oh, he doesn't like that one. Okay. Just put which fascioid? Question mark. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? What the fuck? Oh, for God's sake, we'll refresh the fucking page.
Poop.
What is this? What? Right. Live chat. Set a goal. Just one super chat. $2. 2 hours. I'll just put the word which. Which? Is that enough? Hey, I've got a goal set. Fuck me. So if you wanted to, you can give me $2 on the fucking on YouTube and choose the fascist I finger. Thank you. It's a Morton who says this weekend is going to be fantastic. I'm going to meet Ellie in Cannock. We campaign. It's going to be a lot of fun, and then pub with my besties. I don't know who Ellie is, but that's. I'm glad you're going to have fun. It's a Morton. That's fucking dope. Also, Cannock's nice. Nice part of the country. And thank you. It's the Morton with gigantifying and Aurora cats, which is always good. And Lord Fruitus for gifting a sub to It's a Morton. Unbelievable. Wagwan brethrens.
How are you doing, my fellow brethren?
I am extraordinarily well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Not doing too bad. I'm so fucking hyped for tonight's question time.
Well, they've finally got a good person on, like a legitimately good, and I don't know what to do. I can only assume.
I know.
They heard his accent and thought, well, he's working class, so he's probably just going to be racist. Is what I imagine they thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the opinion of most like middle class political establishment people, right? You know, the noble savage, like how they believe, how they think about them.
Yeah, indeed.
I'll tell you what, we were just watching Carla Denyer on Politics Live.
Oh,
and
Tiny
she was
Queen
one of the,
times. Love it.
It was Tiny Queen time, absolutely. And one of the other panelists was Katie Balls from The Spectator. And just as we left to come and jump in here, she was saying how, well, actually, the Labour Party are lying because they say they're doing this to help the disabled, but they're not. They're just doing it for penny pinching. And they're trying to massage the figures by only having a consultation on one side to try and hide it. And I'm like, when the person who writes for a magazine that publishes articles such as In Praise of the Wehrmacht and praises the neo-Nazi Golden Dawn in Greece, is calling you out for being too nasty to the disabled, maybe it's time to have a rethink.
Maybe. You would think. Also, I just want to point out, there hasn't been a single resignation from the Labour Party based on this. I will note that there were 4 resignations about broadband communism.
Really?
Yeah. Technically, they blamed anti-Semitism, but it was broadband communism that
Oh, true.
sparked their final resignation. So, you know, just in case if you were wondering where the priorities of the Labour Party were and are.
Absolutely. Well, it's a moral crusade, or it's nothing, chat.
True. If only.
Well, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing, unfortunately.
Oh, it's the Morton. Oh, you're going. Oh, it's the Morton's going to be campaigning with Ellie Chowns at the weekend.
Yes,
Cool.
yeah, he is. It's gonna be cool, yeah.
Nice.
Up in Cannock, right?
Cannock Chase, indeed. Yeah. Your stream basically runs the Green Party. I'm just going to say it now.
I mean, I'm trying hard.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for their comms to get onto my anti-American shtick that I told them they should do.
They fucking should. Yeah. No one likes America. They're literally fucking 25% on all of our cars and shit. What the fuck? We bent over backwards and you're still fucking us. We gave you a letter from Sausage Fingers, for fuck's sake.
Even the constituents of Clacton, who elected the man who literally wants to turn us into a vassal state of the US empire. I mean, even more so than we already are.
True, but to be fair, they've never met him, so they don't really know. You know.
True, but like he wants to be even more cucked out to the United States. Even Clacton constituents would rather we had a closer relationship with the EU over America.
True. Although again, the Lib Dems are just annoying with it. They make me want to not be closer to Europe just because they'd be happy about it. Because they're just their piss time is just so irritating. Literally, their whole response to this is, well, we shouldn't eviscerate the poor, but also we should just be part of Europe. Brilliant. You're choosing to focus on the real issue there. Then thanks.
We'll get the rejoin dividend, and then that'll fund all of our public spending commitments.
Literally, the sunlit uplands of Britain. Or whatever the fuck it would be called. Brentrance? I don't know.
Brentrance, yeah.
Yes. So, we've got a good person on question time, but we've also got a series of melters as always as well.
We do have a lot of melters.
Camilla not McTominay. I always say McTominay because the fucking footballer, and it's not her name.
McTominay, yeah.
Although they're both shit in their own ways, but very different ways. Camilla Tominey, who's the Telegraph associate editor and just general meltstick.
GB News presenter as well. Yeah,
GB News, fucking loser.
Absolute fucking waste cadet. That's what she is.
But thankfully, we've got the representative for the Socialist Labour Party, who this week, of course, caused some outrage by comparing the evisceration of the disabled to his kid getting a £10 weekend job. Because that's a reasonable comparison to make, apparently, according to.
And again, I think the thing is, obviously, of course, it's very it's really in poor taste, right? But the worst part about it is just like the person we were watching before you came on, they're just fucking lying about what PIP is, because it doesn't just apply to people who are out of work. It applies to people who are in work. What you're saying to somebody is, you know that you have to spend £10 a week getting the bus to your work. We're going to take away £10 from what you get, and then now you can't get to work anymore. And then you have to get a Saturday job as well. And it's like, well, I can't work at all, so I'm just going to go on universal credit. Yep. It's literally it. That's so they literally take people out of the labour force, because a bunch of people who need PIP to be able to get a job now can't get a job. So his analogy doesn't even fucking work. It's a shitty analogy that humiliates and patronises the disabled, and it doesn't even work.
And was so grossly offensive that even he had to come out and apologise for it. Without realising that his boss, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, had made basically the same analogy at the dispatch box. So, you know, in case you were wondering where the Labour Party's at.
I hate them all. I hate them so much.
They're fucking awful. Have you,
dreadful.
As friends, have you seen Scott McTominay since leaving United? Yeah, he's playing in Italy, where they play at the fucking pace of grandparents' football. It's rubbish. Yeah. When he's got fucking half an hour to think of what to do with the ball, yeah, he's fucking brilliant. Anyway, don't even get me started.
Thank you for the £2 XYZ. Thank you for giving us a voice, Elena. And of course to Kev. Kev's also been given a voice to the disabled. But yes, we're both very fucking angry about this shit.
It's fucking infuriating. Because it's literally the Tory party policy. And it's not even new Tory party policy, because I remember not the 9 o'clock news taking the piss out of the Tories in the 90s for this, saying, they're choosing to pick on the poorest and least able to defend themselves. And that's literally what they're doing now. But it's the Labour Party doing it. Fucking evil. Actually evil.
Yep, and the thing is, like, they're literally avoiding doing a consultation on specifically the fiscal elements of their Green Paper reforms, right? Because the Tories tried to do a consultation on their reforms from the Centre for Social Justice, taken to judicial review, and it was found to be unlawful because they fucking lied.
Yeah.
So we want to know how you think it's best to help the disabled, and the entirety of the consultation was to justify penny pinching for the Treasury. So they literally know, the Labour government know full well that if they tried to consult on the fiscal elements to their PIP changes, they would also get shot down under judicial review by disabled campaigners. So instead of asking the disabled people about what they think about the policy, they're just going to not consult them at all. Because they care about the disabled so little, they won't even speak to them. At least the Tories pretend to try and care whilst doing under false pretenses. The Labour Party are just like, they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
That's it. Literally, just go fuck yourself.
They're actually in some ways worse than the Tories. I didn't expect them to be that much better, but I did expect them to be better. And they haven't been, frankly. They just haven't been.
Well, there are some things that they have been better on, you can't ignore the things they do.
No,
shit,
don't get me wrong.
like
the workers' rights stuff. Okay, fine. But in the round, is life better for the people who need it to be better? No.
Let's just
No, it isn't.
Like, you can't get into government as a Labour Party MP or as a Labour Party government and then immediately attack the poor. Like, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Like, this is a red line.
Yeah. The only people who are doing well out of this are potentially the tech bros who won't even have to pay their 2% tax anymore. Brilliant.
Literally. Although, to be fair, like, apparently they're doing it to protect the automotive industry because they might get the 25% tariff from the States. And it's one of our biggest exports to the States is cars. So, literally, we could into giving tax breaks to Bezos by this fucking trained monkey in the White House.
True, or we could have some balls and say, no, okay, you want to put 25% tax on us? We'll put a 25% tax on you, you prick. We could have some balls to it, that's also an option.
The issue is nobody wins from that. It's just fucking everyone loses. It's shit.
How do we win from this? How does anything end up as a win?
I mean, we lose either way. Like,
exactly.
It's just shit either way.
So my point is, I'd rather go down swinging than just bend over backwards and lose.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
God, sorry.
It's also fucking shit, isn't it? Also, speaking of the American administration, we covered the signal leaks on Novara a couple of days ago. I described the current Trump cabinet as being like DEI for stupid people.
It really is. This is what happens when you hire all of the dumbest cunts to run a government. How did you expect it to go any other way than this?
Literally, it's just like we felt excluded from high up roles in government because we are fundamentally thick. So we elected someone who's also thick to give us the roles because otherwise we wouldn't get them because we're too thick.
Literally.
Like fucking
the Chinese
Dan Bongino in the CIA. Like it's like having Sargon of Akkad in MI6.
Literally, it's the Chinese and the Russians probably have spent billions on encryption devices and like fucking hacking into systems and having like deep undercover agents when all they needed to do was just wait for Donald Trump to get in and then ask Dan Bongino to accept a friend request on Facebook or something and they get the nuclear codes. Why did they bother? It's just ridiculous. Just get into the WhatsApp group, lads. You'll be fine. Fucking hell, man. Oh, it's so embarrassing. I didn't expect the downfall of the US empire to be as funny as this, if I'm entirely honest.
Yeah, honestly, it's so frustrating. I guess I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's so frustrating that Trump is like a lunatic demagogue out to destroy the world because he's so funny. Well, funny.
I don't even think he is because if you watch him, and I know like it's the easy excuse to just say, "Oh, I don't know," but I genuinely get the impression he doesn't know. Whenever he's asked about anything, he doesn't know. What he does, right, is he wakes up at about 11, I think, right, turns up, has a go at Joe Biden and maybe China or Europe or something, depending on what his bugbear is that day, signs a couple of presidential decrees that he's not read and wouldn't understand even if he could, and then goes and plays golf. That's it. That's his day as president.
Literally, like in that moment when he was asked by a reporter what fucking AUKUS is,
Yeah.
and I was like, just a fucking idiot. He's so dumb.
Well, I do,
But, like,
I do love the special relationship we've got going on. So, 25% tariffs. We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene telling British journalists to fuck off back to where they came from. Like, oh, thanks. How much money and how many lives did we pour into the Iraqi desert for you cunts? Jesus Christ. You can't even get just a basic degree of respect, let alone like consultation or any kind of actual soft power or anything. It's fucking embarrassing.
Oh dear Lord, yeah. I forgot that. Somebody pointed out that Pete Hegseth literally left his password in the public domain.
Have they tried? Yeah, have they tried hacking into the FBI base with the password? Because you know it would work for something. One of them's definitely used it. You could get in, or like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, brilliant.
With regards to question time, by the way, I've got a pen and paper in front of me,
Right.
and what I'm going to do is I've got a tally for the number of times that Fiona Bruce interrupts panelists, and I have 2 columns. One is Gary,
Yes.
and the other is everybody else.
Yes.
So obviously we don't need to stop and notice it, but I will be keeping track. And at the end, I will let everybody know the tally of how many times Fiona interrupted Gary over everybody else, and we'll know just how biased she is.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to guess 2 to 1. Ratio
2 to 1.
Ratio of 2 to 1.
As in per other person or for everybody else combined?
Well, she'll interrupt Gary twice as much.
Okay, so per person then, right? Okay,
Yeah,
sure. So it'd be
yeah.
like Gary interrupted twice and everybody else interrupted 8 times, right?
No, I'm saying you count all of them together.
Oh, collectively. Okay.
Collectively.
So
Yeah, collectively, she will interrupt them once for every 2 times she interrupts him. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Cool. No, that seems reasonable. So what I have done, I've posted the link to my Twitch as the pinned message in the YouTube chat. If you're watching on YouTube, I've also posted the link in the chat as well. So when we're moving over to question time, it will be on Twitch specifically rather than YouTube. If you want to continue watching, please click the Twitch link in the YouTube chat because we're going to be starting immediately. So please click the link and come over and join us on the Twitch arenas. Remember, if you do come and join us on Twitch and you are an Amazon Prime customer, you can link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account and get a free subscription every single month. Like, not only do you get the benefits of the free subscription, I get paid as well, or Kev gets paid if you give it to Kev. So
Indeed.
You might as well do it because it's free for you. You get all the benefits, and we get money. You're literally taking money from Jeff Bezos and giving it to me or Kev. So
True,
if you're going to go over and watch Twitch,
I will just spend it on a cock rocket as well. So, you know.
I mean, better you than Bezos.
True.
Honestly.
Very much so. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Solly, for resubscribing on the Twitches. Thank you, XYZ or XYZ, if you want to be correct. It says it's Thursday. I'm 2 ales deep. Have some money. Well, thank you. And that is the goal that I wanted to achieve, was to have like 1 super chat. But unfortunately, okay. So we were on a hype train before I came up to you, right? And I said, if we get to level 2, I'll finger, and then it's my usual bit, right? And I said, well, I'll let the YouTube decide. So if we get to level 2, I'll then set a goal on YouTube, and then they can choose what fascist corpse I interfere with. Which is a very normal sentence for an adult to say. I don't know what anyone's talking about. And you haven't mentioned a single person who I'm supposed to think of their XYZ. So we're still fucked. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'll leave it up to you, XYZ. It's in your hands. Well, it's in my hand, I guess, but whatever.
You'll finger Labour's self-respect.
Oh, that's been dead a while though. That's
Literally.
green at this point.
It's cold, yeah. Literally, it has become one with the soil.
True. Okie doke.
Question time. Let's go.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Hang on a minute. Is it? There we go. Right. Are you done? Can I share with you? Yeah.
Everyone, click the link in the Twitch chat. Do it now, immediately. Thank you for the gifts, Jack Meller, the Jack Meller.
The Jack Meller, soon to be elected official Jack Meller.
Yes, soon to be elected official Jack Meller.
And as soon as you're elected, I will be absolutely rinsing you for not having solved all of the problems of your local area, Jack.
Why are what bins twice a fortnight, once a fortnight? How dare you?
You're just like the rest of them, you corrupt bastard.
Yeah, I've seen you taking money from. I've seen you being taking money from big streamer.
True. Anyway.
Ending the YouTube stream is ending. Please go and click on the Twitch link in the chat that's pinned and also repeated a bunch of times in the YouTube chat. Please come over to Twitch, and I will see you momentarily. Bye, everyone. It's twitch.tv/NoJusticeMTG. Right.
I'm trying to look. Are there any freaks in? I can't see anyone. Oh, I can see purple hair. Oh, we've got pronouns. Oh, hello. Sorry. Anyway, yes.
Thank you for another 5 gifted, and Tribal P for another 5 gifted as well. It's 15 gifted in the last 2 minutes over on Twitch. Thank you for the continued support. We stand.
Indeed, and thank you to No Justice Matug for raiding in, whoever that is. Go and follow them.
Literally anybody.
They sound cool.
David Cameron is a pie is true.
Is a pie?
Yeah. Well, you missed a sat nav for 5 gifted. Wow.
Nice.
Very generous.
Tonight's question time comes from Dartford, and we're broadcasting from the Mick Jagger Centre for Arts, part of his old school. And we may be in Kent, but our audience, as usual, reflects the electoral picture across the country. And they're asking, how should we, pathetic freeloader?
If it's Mick Jagger's thing, why didn't they paint it black?
Hey.
Come on now.
Respond to Donald Trump and his tariffs. Welcome to Question Time on BBC iPlayer, BBC News and BBC Sounds. On tonight's panel from the government is Darren Jones as Chief Secretary.
The physical embodiment of the concept, the very platonic ideal of the briefcase.
Literally, he is the personification. He has become one with the briefcase.
Exactly.
Briefcase emotes in chat. Let's go. Also, thank you to True Poppy for another 10 gifter. That's incredibly generous. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, James Holmes, for 10 gifties on the Yam Tubes.
The Treasury, he's number 2 to the Chancellor. He's had a big say.
He is number 2. That is certainly correct.
You are
in
number
the decisions
6.
behind yesterday's spring statement. From the Conservatives, Richard Holden is a shadow cabinet office minister.
Literally, who the fuck is this person? They've dragged a cunt in from a pub. He's nobody.
But he's the guy who he used to be chair of the party, and he got famous during the election for changing his seat to what he thought was a safer seat, and then beat Reform by 16 votes.
Well, he got in, you know, bless him. That's amazing. 16 votes. 60 puts Wesley's 500 votes into the shade, doesn't it? Good God.
Literally, it's like Billericay, I think.
That's fucking. I thought that was a made up place. Genuinely.
Well, from Ian Jury and the Blockheads.
No, from Gavin and Stacey.
Oh, it's Basildon. Sorry, it's Basildon, not Billericay.
Not Billericay, but Billericay is a real
Billericay
place.
Yeah, and it was another seat where Reform came close to winning.
Well, they'll win it next time.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy Carter, for resubscribing on the YouTube.
He was previously chairman of his party and also served in the government of Rishi Sunak. Daisy Cooper is the deputy leader of the Liberal Democrats, the 3rd biggest party at Westminster.
Why have they let her indoors? What's happening here? Shouldn't she be outside with a brolly or something? Come on now.
She also speaks for her party on Treasury matters.
I correct myself. The seat is Basildon and Billericay, and it wasn't Reform they beat by 16 votes. It was the Labour Party, but Reform were behind by only another 1,500 votes or something. So it was very, very close between the three.
Oh, a legit 3-way. That's quite rare.
matters. Camilla Tominey is associate editor of The Telegraph. That involves writing a column and co-presenting a podcast called The Daily Tea. She also presents a Sunday morning political show on GB News. And Gary Stevenson went from a modest East London upbringing to being a multi-millionaire financial trader. He's since written a book about what he calls the moral decay of the industry and campaigns mostly through his YouTube channel for greater economic equality. Good evening. Welcome to our panel. Welcome our audience here in Dartford. Great to see you all, looking raring to go. And of course, welcome to you at home. Let's get started with our first question, which is from Michael Kent.
Who should be plugging the deficit? Benefit claimants or billionaires?
Right, and this obviously comes hot on the heels of the spring.
Why is this even needed to be a question? What an awful timeline to live in, really.
Yeah, that's frustrating, isn't it?
It's oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I wonder what Camilla Tominey has to say.
Statement yesterday. Darren, you were absolutely instrumental in compiling that spring statement. Who should be plugging that deficit? Benefit claimants or billionaires?
Well, look, the deficit in the long term needs to be filled by getting the economy back on track so that it's growing and creating strong businesses and good jobs so people are paying taxes when they see their pay rising. And it needs to get back on track because we need to get public spending under control to make sure that our public services are delivering better outcomes for people at better cost. There are too many examples of public services failing people but costing huge amounts of money. You can think about children with additional needs or children's social care or temporary housing. There's a whole list of things that we are working hard to get a grip of. But also, the welfare system had got to a place where it wasn't supporting people in the way that it was designed to. We've now got 1 in 8 young people coming out of education and not going into work or training and staying at home on universal credit payments. We need to make sure that they're given the opportunity to be able to go and work and to benefit from that. And we've been taxing wealthy people too, people with the broadest shoulders. We've changed the non-dom tax status. These are the richest people often in our country. We've changed inheritance tax and capital gains tax to raise more from assets that you might inherit or be able to sell. If you happen to have a private jet, it's now much more expensive to use it after years of it being cheap under Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And
thankfully, they've got 2 Jet Zero councils, so they're really on top
Oh, they
of
might-
the jet issue.
They might have that they might get conflagrated in the bonfire of the Quangos. Although he just mentioned the non-dom tax status, which they significantly weakened their changes on after getting lobbied by the CEO of Blackstone, an asset management firm. So, but in the grand scale of things, these are not big changes. Like the private school VAT, couple of billion, the non-dom tax status, likewise. I think combined, they're still less than the amount of money they're taking away from the disabled.
And of course, it's got to be borne in mind that that non-dom tax thing, which is generally speaking better than the position it was before they got in, but that was already equated for or accounted for in their spending that they fucked up by 13 billion, which they also then fucked up by 1.34 billion. So this is
true.
That your fuck up with your mathematics doesn't have anything to do now with that. That money's been spent. You've already accounted for that. So, in terms of this spring statement, who should bear the brunt? The billionaires, who you are not taxing more, or the disabled, who you are fucking over?
Exactly. And again, they say the deficit. This isn't really the deficit. This is about making sure that Rachel Reeves leaves fiscal headroom, right? It's not the same as a deficit, but I understand the framing of the question.
Yeah.
Sunak, and we've been adding VAT onto private schools to redistribute that money into the state school system. The country's in a very fragile place, though. The economy is still pretty tough. The public spending settlements that we have are really challenging, and that's why it feels hard right now, and it's not feeling as positive or as easy as we want it to be. But coming into government, we've managed to get a grip of the situation we've inherited, and now we've got to work really hard to be able to turn the country around so that we can start to lift that pressure and deliver opportunity and prosperity for everyone.
Is there not a contradiction?
Wow. What a surprise that your milquetoast fucking meandering around the topic and not answering the question didn't garner a round of applause. That is why you will lose the next election. Well done.
And that's it, because they didn't answer any of the actual serious point here, which is, are the billionaires going to get taxed? Because actually, whilst I'm sure lots of billionaires do send their kids to private school, again, it's not a huge amount, but they're actually going to revenue raise from this. And in reality, the problem is with billionaires is that they have loads of assets. Unless they sell those, you're not actually going to be able to claim capital gains taxes, even if you increase capital gains tax to like 1,000,000%, right? You need to actually ensure that you can gain that revenue by getting them either to sell their assets or by having a taxation on the unrealized capital gains, which is what a wealth tax would be, or taxing the land on its value, for example, which they're not doing either. And so that's why, in lieu of tax rises, they're having to do spending cuts. And even then, you have choices. And the choice that they're going with is taking it away from literally the most disabled people in the country.
Yeah.
In the government developing a strategy to reduce child poverty and at the same time pushing 50,000 more children into relative poverty.
So look, let me be clear.
By your statement yesterday.
Sure. A Labour government is not going to see child poverty increase in this country. All of us, myself included...
Yes, it is.
Yes, it literally is. Yes, it literally is. Like, she's literally just told you the numbers from your own report, the OBR report that you published. So 50,000 more children will be in relative poverty. 250,000 people in total will be in relative poverty because of you. You did this.
That was and actually that the OBR was taking that from their own impact assessment of the DWP, the one that Liz Kendall said, I'm not going to talk about now, but you can wait until the spring statement. And they knew, because now it gets caught up in the morass of everything else, rather than being front and center, so that it's harder to scrutinize.
Yep.
It's so nakedly obvious what they're doing here. And this is on top of the fact that the only area in the country where child poverty is predicted to fall is in Scotland, because they're the ones who are trying to mitigate the two-child benefit cap by doing their own version of reversing that.
Yeah.
Because they can only use their devolved powers to do that, and so they're implementing a new child benefit that's there to try and undermine it. And so that's the only place where it's going to reduce child poverty. Everywhere else, it's all predicted to rise, including in England, which is the majority of the government of the UK has some level of control over. So he's just lying. He's just lying in terms of disabled kids and kids with 2 siblings or more. All of these people are going to be worse off and more likely to be in poverty. And this is a direct choice that this Labour government has made.
Yep.
According to the OBR, yes, it is.
Well, I'll come to the impact assessment, but look, all of us in the Labour Party, it's the first time I think that the cabinet of our government has been entirely from working class backgrounds, from state school educated backgrounds. I grew up in...
Yeah, and you're literally like the worst Labour government there has ever been. You're not a good advertisement, actually. Like... Give me posho fucking Clement Attlee over cunts like you any day.
It's so true. It's so true. And even then, like, their metric for working class is state educated. You know, by all means, have more state educated people in government, in parliament. I'm all for it. But when you actually look at these people's real careers, it is like political advisors like Wes Streeting and Yvette Cooper, lawyers like this guy and Shabana Mahmood. You've got someone who used to work for the Bank of England and Rachel Reeves, and Keir Starmer, who was the director of public prosecutions, if you can imagine such a thing, and a member of the Trilateral Commission. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, your dad may have been a toolmaker, Keith, but I will judge you by the actual experience of your life as an adult, which has mostly been a very highly and well-paid professional, and not somebody who's had to deal with be living on the breadline, unlike, for example, Angela Rayner. Except when does she ever get put front and centre of Labour Party's communications? She gets shoved to the sidelines like John Prescott being their fucking Bez.
Yeah, exactly. Tony Benn, a great example. Tony Benn, a man so posh that he literally had to give up his seat in the House of Lords because his dad was a lord. And back in the day when you had hereditary lordships all the time and all the rest of it, there's still 1 or 2, but mostly gone now. You can't sit in both House of Commons and the House of Lords. So he actually had to give up his lordship, so posh was he, in order to stay in the Commons and fight for working class, not even emancipation, just basic working class social democracy, I guess. Give me that over you any day of the week. Any day.
Absolutely. Remember, guys, the candidate in second place in his Bristol Northwest constituency is a Green Party candidate. So if you want to get this motherfucker out of government, vote Green at the next election.
Only the Greens can win here.
True.
Also, hello there, Canedo de Esquerdas. Otherwise known as the leftist loudmouth, because that's what that means in Spanish. Javi in chat, who's a fucking awesome comrade. Much love to you, friend. Hope you're well. Everyone go and follow them. They're cool.
poverty in the 80s and 90s before the last Labour government introduced the national minimum wage and transformed my family's life. We are deeply committed. This is in our DNA. We're deeply committed to wanting
No,
to
it isn't deeply in your DNA. That's not how it fucking works. You get judged by your policies. Look, I literally had to... it made me feel sick to the core of my stomach because Tony Blair is a war criminal who should be at The Hague and or terms of service here, right? Piece of shit. And I literally had to say his government was way to the left of this government in many key areas. And that is sickening.
Yeah, like there are some things when you could say like the current government being a little bit more expansionary on like some layers of borrowing, for example, like not using PFIs to the same like extent, but they want to go further on deregulation, you know? Remember when Rachel Reeves was starting up during the election campaign on how she was going to undo a bunch of EU regulation to constrain the financial sector by having them with bigger liquidity requirements, and they're making it even more deregulated than Tony Blair did, and that's what led to the global financial crisis.
But like as he's pointing out, they introduced a minimum wage, a thing that the Labour movement had been trying to introduce for a century or more. They introduced tax credits, which were fucking borderline revolutionary in terms of the quality of life of some of the poorest in the country. They introduced pensioner tax credits, ditto. Like, they were actually quite bold by comparison to these fucking wankers. They introduced Sure Start. Like, that Labour government weren't too terrible in some ways. They were still awful in a number of key other ways and did illegal war crimes and things. But this government are doing the war crimes, and we don't even get the kind of mild social democracy as well.
Yeah, no like welfare capitalism to speak of. Because you've got to remember, at the National Policy Forum, there was a lobbying by the trade unions on the left of the party to get refunding of Sure Start into the manifesto. And Keir Starmer literally tried to block it and was successful. That's how right-wing he is. He's too right-wing for Sure Start.
Which at that point, trade unions, please grow a backbone and stand up. And leave
And
the room.
disaffiliate.
Yeah. Just get out of there. A party that can't even give you Sure Start, a thing that was achieved 25 years ago, is not. They don't have your best interest at heart. They're not on your side. Get out now.
call this. Now, the impact assessment you referred to from yesterday, what that shows is that as we are trying to help families get into work, because we know the biggest lever to move child poverty statistics is to get larger families where there are two parents, one of which is not able to work, to help them to get into work. That's the easiest way to help alleviate child poverty. As we help families to do that,
rather than paying people enough to have one income to raise a family like, you know, previous generations had. No, everyone has to work now. You all have to be slaves to the grind. And who needs to do parenting? Nobody.
Social security payments that are going to those people goes down. That's what the impact assessment shows. What the impact assessment doesn't show is the gain that those families get by then being in work and earning more money.
I mean, you can only
jobs.
guess how many families are going to go into work. You can't know that.
No.
First of all, that's a good point that she's making there, that you can't know that they're going to get into work. But on top of that, the thing they're taking away is something, PIP, which has no work requirement. There is a large number of people who claim PIP who are in work. They're going to lose everything and are more likely to be in poverty as well. Plenty of people are in in-work poverty, and 40% of universal credit claimants are in work. So this idea that somehow you can just magically divine that you're going to push a bunch of people into work, which are actually not going to do that because it's going to be harder to get into work if you don't have a PIP payment keeping you well enough to be in work, whether you're out of work or not, it's for the birds. It's totally for the birds. It's completely inconsistent. And all he's doing here is making shit up and deflecting away from the fact that they are going to be pushing kids into poverty. Little fucking children are going to be put into poverty because of this Labour government, and he has to try and deflect.
Yeah. Well, that number of 50,000 won't be real because of the magic bean tax. Like, it's just nonsense. He's just deflecting with any old shit. Just make something up. They'll definitely all find jobs, honest. Because people who can't wash below the waist or go for a shit by themselves are definitely going to be able to find work very easily.
Especially with no help and no money to be able to facilitate it.
And 21-year-old schizophrenics, fucking employers are calling out for them.
absolutely head over heels immediately to try and get people who are previously been judged not fit to work into work. I'm sure they'll be very profitable.
Yeah.
No one could give an accurate number on that, that's true, but we put £1 billion into job support yesterday. We put £2 billion already extra into childcare, breakfast clubs in primary schools. We're doing everything we can to make sure that we can create the opportunity of well-paid work, help families to be able to do that, and to help children in the process.
Richard.
I mean, there was one number in the OBR's document yesterday which said actually that the measure is going to see 130,000 fewer jobs over the course of this Parliament up till 2029. And the national insurance tax, I've literally been out with businesses in Basildon and Billericay today. I was out with charities there earlier on. A charity which looks after special needs kids saying they're facing £100,000 extra in national insurance tax.
Yay, there you go. Literally the only thing they care about. Businesses don't want to pay the tax. I mean, it's less tax on business. They've learned nothing. Enjoy you being swept into the dustbin of history, you useless wankers.
And at the end of the day, like, this whole question was about billionaires versus the disabled. And he's like, well, actually, I care about artisan pizzerias.
True.
Taken by this government. The question was asked, who should pay for what's happening, benefits claimants or billionaires? The truth is, growth is down because of the decisions that this Labour government have taken. It's halved this year. It's going to be 2%. It's now 1%. Yeah, but it's still lower over the entire course of the period. It's over the course of the next.
So the two major parties, neither of them want to answer the question. I wonder why people don't like politicians.
Nope. It's a mystery, isn't it?
Is and that is what you're all going to be paying for. And the reason is because back in the back end of last year, national insurance was hit right across businesses and charities right across our country, and they are not going to be employing people because of those extra taxes on them. Think of it: if you were employed before they introduced their national insurance tax rise, people paid 13.8% on everything over £9,100 if you're an employer. Now you pay 15% on everything over £5,000. Who's really impacted by that? Part-time workers, young people starting out. I remember getting my first job waiting tables. My employer didn't pay national insurance when they took me on. They would do today. And those are the people who are hit by Labour's jobs.
Let me bring you back to the question.
Economic growth.
Who should be plugging the deficit? Benefit claimants or billionaires?
Pause.
Can I just... The Conservative man...
It's important to understand as well is that it's the employer's choice to take that out of wages rather than out of profits.
Yeah.
That's it, Like, that's an employer's, they've made that choice specifically. And on top of this, say, well, there's going to be fewer jobs. Well, that money's going into the public sector, which will then employ people. So there'll be increase in jobs in the public sector. So that's moving the jobs from private to public. That's true. But the idea that somehow means that it's going to hurt people and young people trying to get jobs, when actually, usually the public sector jobs are better paid and more stable with better pensions. So actually, that's fine. It's fine to do that. But the reason why they talk about this specifically is because they want there to be fewer public sector jobs, because they don't want their private sector donors to have to compete with the good terms and conditions that you get from the public sector. That's why they get angry at this, not because they, and of course business profits too, not because they genuinely have concern over the interests of young people and part-time workers trying to work at fucking McDonald's or an Amazon warehouse or whatever.
Manifesto proposed 12 billion in welfare cuts. What the government has done is has cut 5 billion. You want to do more than twice that.
The big difference here is actually really clear.
Is the sum?
No.
More than twice?
No, it's not. It's because we would not.
You laughed at again.
National insurance.
You're still being laughed at. You're in opposition and you're still being laughed at. That's how much of a clown you are.
Literally, Tories still more hated.
Yeah.
Talking about the welfare bill.
Exactly.
The question is, who should be plugging the deficit? Benefit claims. I'm simply making the point. Richard, I'm simply making the point that you're critical of the government. You're the opposition. That's absolutely your position.
Oh,
but you propose...
Fuck, my number's not looking good. She's going to have to interrupt Gary a lot. Shit.
More than twice as many cuts.
No, what we were not doing was saying that people should have. What we were not doing is saying that we were going to raise the tax on employing people. Right? That's what Labour.
But you were going to cut the welfare bill by more. Just so we're clear.
Yes,
You've made your point.
You're getting absolutely cocked, mate. That was embarrassing. That was,
well, again, because
who are these fucking people, man? They send out the worst wankers. Do they not realise this is on national TV? Do they not know?
I mean, this is what you're. This is the thing, right? You looked at the remember the answers from both Darren Jones and Richard Holden. Neither of them entertained the actual question. Both of them were being talked about. If we're going to have a choice between the benefit claimants and the billionaires, they've just deflected onto something else because they both know they want to cut disability welfare because one of them is actually doing it and the other one had plans to, and they know that it's massively unpopular and people are outraged by it, so they have to deflect, they have to pivot, they have to not answer, otherwise they would actually have to admit that they're demons who want to hate on poor people.
That if you can only do that if you're creating jobs. We created 4 million jobs under the last Conservative government. In Basildon and Millericay, since the general election, 500 more people on the unemployment rolls.
Basildon and Ricky? Okay. I mean, you
Good
should...
pause.
You think you'd be able to pronounce your own fucking constituency? But he is a bit flustered, the lad, to be fair. I've said this before, men shouldn't be allowed in politics. They're too emotional. They can't be trusted.
Unemployment will go up under Labour. That's what the OBR say.
All right. The man there.
I'm speaking as someone who's got a disabled daughter, and she's 18 now. The cuts that you're all talking about, where is it going to come from? The rich, or is it going to affect the poor? It's going to affect the poor. And I say that because my daughter, who is, as I said, is 18, she's heard in the news this week that these cuts are coming. How is that going to affect her? How is it going to affect everybody that suffers from those kind of disabilities? Yet she's also heard that the MPs are going to get a 2.8% raise on their salaries. Now, how does that justify? Is it you're taking it from my daughter and you're putting it in your pocket? That's how she sees it.
Gary, I'm going to come to you. Just very quickly.
Damn straight.
Good man. Good man. And
Absolutely
again,
right.
this is Dartford. This isn't like red country. This isn't fucking communist land. And that gets a
No,
round
it's
of
really
applause,
not.
You know.
Absolutely. Also, Ben Sharp in chat says, I'm at a Labour Party dinner and Neil Kinnock had a massive go at the government for the PIP cuts and said we need to tax the wealthy. You've lost Neil Kinnock. Like
Okay.
how much further do we need to go?
Okay.
Like, how much further do we need to go?
I will just say this, right? Neil, comrade, dare I say, hilariously, you did this. You destroyed any vestige of leftism in the Labour Party. You have got this blood on your hands too. Don't you fucking dare try and escape this shit, you prick. Having spent the last fucking 30 years on the European gravy train as well, you wanker. Honestly, I hope you've got asbestos underwear because you're going to need it in the lake of fire.
People that need help are going to get it in the system. What we've been talking about...
No, they're not. His daughter is 18. 22 before you get shit. For the next 4 years, you are fucking his daughter. Metaphorically.
And on top of that, the PIP cuts are to people who are already qualifying for PIP when they get reassessed. You essentially said that people who are currently qualified through the very rigorous and humiliating PIP assessment are getting it undeservedly. Shameful. Shame on you, Darren Jones.
Yeah.
There's going to be lots of people who aren't going to get it. Otherwise, you can't cut the bill.
Well,
you don't start taking things from people, the bill is going to remain the same.
Sure. But as I was saying earlier, the problem that we had was that the budget we had to help people, as it sounds like your daughter, with disabilities that need support and need protection.
The point is, how come you're getting more money and his daughter may get less?
That's the question. That's what we want to know. That's what people like my daughter, who can't go to work. She cannot go to work. She has to rely on those disability allowances. How is it that you can get a pay rise, but it's going to be taken away from them?
Sure. No, I understand. And I'm just saying that by the sounds of it, your daughter will continue to be supported, and that's what the system is there to do. But to answer...
You're going to lose the election. You fucking... Look at this guy. This guy wanted an answer, and you haven't given it to him. That's a vote lost forever. Well done, Darren Jones.
And also, like, you cannot guarantee that she won't lose it, because it's up to the PIP assessment, right? She might not be able to work currently, you know, but who's to say that she'll definitely get at least 1-4 across all of the different PIP assessment criteria outside of the mobility one? You don't know this, Darren. You don't know. Or she might do, she might not. That's no solace for the people who are now worried sick about the fact that the next reassessment they might lose all of their money. Plus their limited capability for work-related activity increase within the universal credit too. You can't guarantee this, Darren.
Yeah. Honestly, just Darren, you need to tell the truth and just say, I don't give a fuck about your daughter. If she died, that would help me. Because that's one less person that the government have to pay for.
Literally.
That's literally the ghoulish evil of this, is that they know people will die. The reason that he doesn't think that 50,000 will be led into poverty is because many of those will die. Many of them will commit suicide, many of them will starve, or at least die because of hunger exacerbated illnesses that they already suffered from. Comorbidities are a thing, after all.
Mm.
It's genuinely demonic.
To your point about pay rises, across the public sector, this is one of the things that I'm responsible for as Chief Secretary to the Treasury, whether it's doctors and nurses or teachers or prison officers. We have to come to an agreement around what pay rises are for public sector workers. For MPs, that's not a decision that I take as a minister or we take as MPs. It's taken independently by Parliament with reference to what's happening in the rest of the economy. But the key point there
is... Is it a bit awkward, though, in the circumstances?
Well, I mean, yes.
Yes, OK. There we go, Gary. The question, who should be
That's the
plugging
thing
the
as
deficit,
well.
benefit claimants or...
It's fine for MPs to have pay rises. I don't really care whether they have the pay rises or not, you know? But, of course, it does look bad at the same time as taking away money from the disabled. But if they really, really genuinely believe that they personally don't deserve one and they don't want to have it because they think it's bad, give it to charity. It was good enough for Nardiewicz and it was good enough for Dennis Skinner. It's good enough for you.
Zara Sultana's doing that, apparently, as well.
Yep.
Or billionaires?
Yeah, this is very frustrating for me. I've been screaming for 5 years that this is going to happen, that this situation will get worse and worse and worse, which it has been doing. I was betting on it for 10 years before that. For people who don't know who I am, I was Citibank's #1 trader in the world in 2011. I got paid millions of pounds because I bet that our economy would collapse because you wouldn't deal with growing inequality. I quit that job in 2014 to try and stop that inequality from growing. I was doing that in private until the beginning of COVID, when it became clear that inequality would increase enormously. Does anyone know what the total government deficit is since the beginning of COVID? It's £1 trillion now, which is £20,000 for every single adult in the country. So if every single one of you is not £20,000 cash richer, someone else has your money.
Is that the debt or the deficit?
It's the increase in the debt, which is the deficit.
Right, yeah.
Does anyone know who has that £1 trillion?
I think you might be about to tell us.
It is the richest people in the country. It is the richest people in the country. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If we pause the economy and give £1 trillion, £20,000 for every adult in this room and the rest of the country to the richest people in the country, and then unpause the economy, what do you think will happen to living standards for ordinary people? They will collapse. This is a problem of growing wealth inequality. The extremely rapid growth of wealth of the richest people in the country. The average billionaire increased their wealth by £630 million in the first year alone of COVID.
When you say it's for the wealthy people, isn't it things like the Canadian pension funds and all that sort of thing?
It's the wealthiest individuals in the country. It's multimillionaires and billionaires. These are the guys...
But also massive pension funds from abroad.
And here.
And who are the overwhelming owners of those pension funds? The richest people in the country. Listen, these men and women are not £20,000 richer.
I don't know if they're the richest people in the country, but OK.
Who here's £20,000 cash rich than before COVID?
The older you are, the richer you are, generally. So actually, pensioners are some of the richest. They're also some of the poorest, but they're also the richest.
And also pension funds make their money off of the rise of the stock market elsewhere, all of the things that they own in their index funds. You know, that's where they make their money, is off the index funds that they own. And the majority of actual stocks and shares are owned by rich people. And that's where a lot of this excess wealth is going to, the people who have, like, stock options in companies they own and things like that. That's where the wealth has spiraled from. Like, sure, there'll be some kickbacks for pension funds, but we can't have the entirety of the social security for a bunch of... We can't have a bunch of the retirement funds for huge numbers of the members of the economy entirely dependent on the richest continually getting richer. That's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome to capitalism, yeah.
I'll tell you who probably is. Every single person on this panel, OK? The richest people in the country are getting richer.
Hang on, don't include us in all this. I don't know if you've seen the way the BBC works, but they're not exactly raising salaries by that much.
All I'm going to say is, this growth in wealth inequality, it is going to keep the middle class and the working class poor. It is going to gut government services, and that is the people in this room. Their kids, their grandkids will be poor,
Gary, you've obviously...
because we are not dealing with wealth inequality.
You rightly say, you spent a lot of time thinking about this.
And it's important, right? The key reason is that once you give all of this wealth to all of these rich people, they buy up everybody else's assets. So houses and the things that were previously owned by the public sector that are now in private hands that were sold off by all the Thatcherites from 79 until today, they own those assets now. Like, the number of assets hasn't increased as fast as the growing wealth inequality. They bid in those markets for those houses, and the price spikes enormously, and it has continued to do so since the start of the pandemic. And that is out competing regular working class people to be property owners. That is the biggest problem that we have, is that, especially when it comes to housing, is that we are now allowing houses to be bought up by oligarchs and rented back to people. You know, index funds and asset management firms are buying houses to then rent back to people and spiraling the cost out of control, because it's a speculative asset since it was privatized after the 1980s.
Yeah. Also, they didn't like him poking fun at them there. I would guarantee that everyone around that table is a millionaire. I'd be very surprised if that weren't the case.
Camilla Tominey gets paid most likely a six-figure salary for working 3 hours a day. Because I know full well that GB News pump huge amounts of money into exorbitant salaries for their panelists.
Yeah. Unbelievable shit. And also, yeah, he didn't say salaries. He said your worth, like your net worth, which will be millions. The only person who might not be is Daisy Cooper, possibly. I don't know her background particularly, but
yeah,
the rest of them
is lobbying a Liberal Democrat.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you don't get many kickbacks if you haven't got any power. Yeah. Also, well done, Gary. I mean, genuinely the first good answer I've heard on this TV show in months.
What do you think the solution or solutions might be?
And you'd think the Labour Party would look at that and go, he got 2 rounds of applause for that. In, like, you know, Kent. Now, again, not you know, red area. That, you think they'd look at that and go, maybe there's votes they had in not being evil. Maybe people might not despise us if we weren't truly demonically evil. But no, they've been bought and paid for.
We have to shift the tax system. We have a tax system which taxes ordinary working people 30, 40, 50, 60%, while people like the Duke of Westminster can inherit £10 billion and pay nothing. If you do that, wealth will be sucked out of the middle class. It's already been completely bankrupted the working class. It will bankrupt the government, which is what we are seeing. And there'll be poverty. There'll be broad poverty. There'll be no middle class left. Why are we taxing working people more than billionaires? Tax wealth, not work. Give these people a break. Give their kids a chance. Tax the billionaires. Of course you should.
Okay.
3. He got 3 rounds of applause. 3 for one answer. You think, again, anyone looking to try and win votes might look at that and think, oh, that seems like quite a popular policy position.
Yeah, maybe there is some electoral capital to be gained by appealing to it.
True, but can these people buy Keir Starmer a box at the Arsenal?
Very true.
You know, have any of these people thought about buying Sabrina Carpenter tickets for the Chancellor?
And just briefly, you will know as well as I do that wealth taxes have been tried in a number of countries. Only Switzerland has stuck with it. I mean, they've got no capital gains tax, they've got no inheritance tax, they've got a slightly different situation.
Yep.
But most countries have abandoned them because they don't bring in that much revenue. What makes you think it would be different here?
Fiona, we did it here. We did it here. We did it here in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and people like my dad, people like my granddad, who was a bus conductor, were able to buy houses, have financial security, have pensions, have retirements, go on holidays. We did it here. We did it here, and we're losing that now because we're not taxing the rich. The rich are getting richer, and ordinary families are losing the ability to buy houses, have kids. We can do it. We've done it before.
OK.
And on top of that,
in the beige sweater.
on top of that, there are countries that have had successful wealth taxes that aren't Switzerland.
Yeah.
Like Norway have a 1.1% wealth tax that is continually to the left of the Laffer curve. They increased it from 8.8% to 1.1% just recently, and that brought an extra $100 million a year. Now, they're a smaller economy, but it's not a huge wealth tax anyway. But the idea that it would lead to huge amounts of capital flight and put them to the right of the Laffer curve isn't true. That's just not true at all. And even then, it's not even for revenue raising. It's to stop the rich out-competing the poor for assets and resources. That is the main utility of a wealth tax. And it's not necessarily to fund government spending, because that comes from the central bank anyway. It's from stopping the inordinate power that rich people have, not just to buy up the assets and outcompete the members of the public, but also to buy our politicians and outcompete us in the democratic realm as well.
Also, interesting from the supposedly neutral chair of the meeting there, that all of a sudden she's become an expert on who has a wealth tax and how it's worked and in which countries. and fucked it up as well. It's almost like the manufacturing's consent machine was turned on briefly there.
1,000 millionaires per month left the UK last year.
Wrong.
That's one every 45
Wrong. So I don't know if you've seen this, Kev, but this stat has been quoted a lot over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know where it comes from?
Probably some sort of Tufton Street wank bank.
It is from a think tank, and it's from the the high net worth individuals, think tank lobby group or whatever.
Oh,
Do you know how they found out? Do you know how they estimated the number of millionaires leaving the country?
They picked a random number out of a bag.
Close. They were looking at people's locations on LinkedIn.
Fuck off.
I swear this is true.
Cheeky bastards, man.
They have literally it's a report on the high net wealth individual migration report, and their source for this data is looking at a certain number of people who changed their locations on LinkedIn. It wasn't even like the total number, it was a sample size, and then they extrapolated that outwards.
Well, thankfully they didn't check my fucking Twitter, because sometimes I change it to be like Wakanda or some shit. So I'm going to be put down as black, clearly.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them when I eventually move to Spain or some shit to get away from this hellscape. They're gonna be like, hang on a minute, someone's moved from Britain to Kalechia. Where the fuck is Kalechia?
I think it's in Romania or something. It's next to Transylvania, some shit like that. I don't know.
So it's somewhere in the periphery of the ex-Soviet bloc.
Yeah. What about if someone went on holiday that week? True.
Also, thank you, Jack Meller, for pointing out this guy has posh twat written all over him too. Jumper with a collar shirt underneath. Not any jumper, the quarter zip jumper. That is like prick o'clock. You know full well that's prick o'clock.
Oh, and not just that, but as soon as he started speaking, I thought to myself, Tory plant. Definitely.
Literally.
Yeah.
The top 1% pay 30% of taxes. The top 10% pay 60% of taxes. We need to get growth in this country. If we raise taxes even more, we're already one of the highest tax-paying countries in the world. We're going to encourage these
No,
to
we're
leave.
not. No, you're just a lot. And look, what's this fucking bell end? The Labour Party MP nodding along with it. Honestly, the only growth I want to see is in the trebuchet industry, you pricks.
Again, it's just totally wrong. Like, we're lower than quite a lot of countries, OECD especially, in terms of our taxation as a percentage of GDP. We've been pretty low for a while in that. It's only recently it's increased, but it's increased everywhere else as well, because we've all got problems with demographic aging across the West, right? And on top of this, he says, well, the top rate of earners, the top 1% pay 60% income tax. And I'm like, but we're talking about wealth, not income.
Yeah.
First of all, we used to pay higher taxes on the highest rates of income anyway. It was 90% in the 50s and 60s, and then 70% in the 70s. And even then, that's still income, not wealth, right?
Yep.
Gary already says tax wealth, not work. People who earn their money and are high earners are getting taxed heavily, but people who make their money from capital, the bourgeois, if you want to use a Marxist terminology, those who own the means of production or who own stocks and shares or property, they pay far less tax because they would pay capital gains only if they realize those gains by selling, and they pay dividend taxation, which is even lower than capital gains.
Exactly. Absolutely fucking right. Ridiculous. Anyway, if you wanted to help us, something earnings, there you go. What a segue. You can do bits messages or super chats, or you can become a member, or you can become a subscriber. These are all things you can do.
You can subscribe. You can support on Patreon, and they take the lowest cut out of all of them.
They do.
They do. It's very good, and we can take the money out any time. I also want to say, we are now currently, the scores on the doors at the moment is 5 interruptions for Gary Stevenson and 7 for everybody else combined.
That's, you know what, that's actually a lot better than I was calling it. But like, he's answered once and they interrupted him 5 times. Fucking hell. Although, to be fair, he did get a new round of applause every time, so that's fine.
True.
Keep going.
And it's going to create a bigger problem. I appreciate Gary's passion for inequality, and I agree with it. Britain is broken, but I do not believe raising taxes is the answer.
Okay. Woman at the back in the red.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate. Please put your face into a shredder in Minecraft.
How can you ensure continued support of the arts in schools?
Okay. I'm just going to stick with the subject if I...
Okay, I mean, that person... if I was to look at them, I'd say they're going to ask a question about the arts.
It's true.
And that's fine.
It's so true.
That's fine. That's absolutely wonderful. It's got fuck all to do with the topic, though. Like, there's lots of pressing issues in the world. What are we going to do about global warming? Well, we're currently talking about, like, poverty and stuff in the UK.
I think, given the subject matter, I think we need to talk about, like, why are we not encouraging the prevalence of art goth girls in question time audiences?
Well, literally.
Or, like, I guess
Yeah.
if they're gonna ask questions that are completely unrelated, then, you know, maybe we shouldn't be having them in the audience.
Yeah. Look, all I want to know is who's going to do something about the stagflation of big titty goth girls.
I mean, she was bringing the drip. Let's be real.
Facts.
if I may, which is about the welfare reforms. We might try and come back to that. Yes.
They won't. They absolutely will not.
If, since a lot of people are unable to, you know, benefit from benefits, because a lot of the times, even if they need it, they would still be unable to get it. So,
is it just me that feels like there might be an egg about to crack? Maybe.
sometimes they would have to resort to benefit fraud. And since we have people in this country who are rich enough to be able to sustain themselves very comfortably, whilst you have people who are suffering in such tragic ways because they would have to resort to, committing crimes to be able to, such as benefit fraud, to be able to sustain themselves. Isn't it just unfair that we have people such as billionaires who don't get taxed as harshly to be able to sustain these people?
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
decent point.
yes, at the back, you got your hand up, yes.
I would like to see our leaders lead by example. If we are cutting the benefits, I'd like to see some of the leaders stick a salary cut to match.
Yeah.
Okay. Camilla, you share that view?
The problem, though, the big problem I have with this is that we talk about this. The problem, the reason why we do pay MPs good salaries is we want to incentivize people who otherwise wouldn't be able to sustain themselves through politics. Is that the more you cut MP salaries, the more that they get incentivized to be more corrupt. So I get the frustration, right? But there is a good utility in MPs having higher salaries. That's fine. But if they really want to set an example and show everybody that they have solidarity with the people who they're cutting shit from, they can just give it to charity if they really want to. But if you make it so that MPs don't get high salaries, they'll just find salaries elsewhere.
Okay, but hear me out here, right? There's another way of enforcing the no corruption rule. Trebuchet.
True, absolutely. I mean, if we're going to do cuts to MPs, if we're going to do cuts to MPs' pay, that needs to be ring fenced and hypothecated towards state investment in trebuchets. Okay.
True.
Deal.
No, true. But I mean, the serious point there is there should be repercussions. The trebuchet is merely my amusing conduit to the point that there should be significant penal issues, consequences for people who commit terrible crimes like pumping shit into waters or taking money to ask questions in Parliament or all of that sort of general corruption shit. Yeah.
I think MPs will argue they don't set their own pay, but it does rather stick in the craw. And I'm thinking maybe in the current...
Especially when the Tories were able to ignore the independent review body when they came back saying they should give the doctors a decent pay rise.
True.
It's interesting how some independent bodies can be ignored and some definitely can't.
Climate. MPs who have been given that pay rise could donate it to a disability charity. It's just an idea.
Oh God, I agree with Camilla Tominey. Oh no.
The original...
Yeah, that is extremely icky.
Oh, I'm just gonna take myself out and shoot myself in Minecraft. No, I'm not gonna do that. It's a joke. Twitch joke.
Honestly, the Greens are going to kick you out. This is outrageous.
The question was who is going to be plugging the deficit? Is it going to be benefits claimants or billionaires? The answer to that question is it's going to be employees and their employers because the tax burden... there we go, Tory bitch. I mean, you've literally just got 2 Tory MPs on... well, 3, really, with the Labour Party. It's just the same shit. has risen to a record high. It's projected by the end of Parliament to be 37.5%. And what's difficult for the electorate about that is that even though the tax burden is at a record high, and indeed government spending is at a record high, it's expected to be 45% of GDP by the end of the Parliament, actually people feel that they're not getting adequate services from the state. And indeed, state productivity remains below pandemic levels. I can see Gary's argument because regardless of us all paying more tax, and let's be honest, you're quite right to say that working people particularly are taxed way too much. In an area like Dartford, you have to question the sense of, on one hand, taxpayers' cash being used to build something like the Dartford crossing, and then on the other being charged the DART charge to use it. It feels like we're not just taxed once, but multiple times if you factor in.
The Dartford crossing is being built with private money, not public money.
No,
the reason why they're getting...
No, she's talking about the one that already exists. The Dartford tunnel already exists. That's the Lower Thames tunnel, which is going to be built. So the already existing toll road that exists from Dartford to Essex. Which was opened in like the 80s or 90s, whenever it was.
It's true, but that's because what they're trying to do is use it. It's a traffic control mechanism.
Yeah.
To having toll roads, you know, like the government can spend the money because it's then going to also reap the rewards of the revenue that it generates because it's infrastructure spending. Therefore, it's coming from borrowing, not coming from day-to-day tax receipts. So it's actually not taxpayers paying for it. It is the bond. It's the bond that's been floated that is paying for it.
But it is still very annoying that the only place that gets any investment ever is the only place that's now going to get any investment now. Well, the rest of the country is in the state of Alabama, and we get nothing. And London, London, Kent, Essex, the southeast, is going to get yet another tunnel. Brilliant. Thanks, Labour Party. You are fucking special.
Income tax, VAT, council tax, fuel duty, car tax and all the rest of it. So that's a problem. Having said that, when we do look at episodes in history where the rich have been taxed more, for instance, you mentioned 1950s Britain. Let's look at 1950s America. Back in 1950s America, the top rate of tax was a staggering 91%.
And it was one of the richest periods in the history of Earth. Our species has rarely known a better financial time for white people. I understand there were some racial issues, but for white people, it was the richest time and place ever. Just a fact.
However, unemployment shot up to 8%, and there were 4 recessions in that period. So I think the man here raised a point about capital flight.
Unlike, thankfully, during the Reaganite era, where recessions just don't happen anymore.
Yeah, and you want to make a comparison in this country, where we didn't have any recessions in the 1950s, and we just about had one in the 1960s.
Yep.
And then the 80s came around, where we got rid of all of the high levels of taxation, and we ripped up all of public ownership, privatized everything, and then lived off of oil money for 2 decades. We had 3 recessions. There were 3 recessions under Thatcher.
Yeah.
And even then, like, the biggest recession in like American history was the Great Depression. That was the biggest period of economic stagnation, was the Great Depression. And it was quite literally high taxation, high borrowing, Keynesian growth, macroeconomics that took them out of the Great Depression. It was FDR's New Deal that did that.
And the only thing literally holding America together in terms of infrastructure was infrastructure built during that period. Literally all of the roads, all of the fucking, all of the bridges, they're all from then. All of the fucking Hoover Dam, everything. It's all from then. They haven't been building anything. Honestly, the Reaganite Thatcherite revolution has destroyed the core of Western infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a great quote from Rory Wood, God rest his soul, who said that, isn't it funny how in the 1980s we sold everything off to private companies and now literally nothing works but 5 people are richer than God?
Yes.
We need to make a decision as to whether we want millionaires' cash to go into the exchequer or not. I appreciate that millionaires and billionaires do have a habit, seemingly, of avoiding quite a lot of tax. But let's use the example of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, okay, the owner of Ineos. Before he moved to Monaco in 2020, he was adding hundreds of millions to HMRC. Now he's contributing nothing because he's a classic example of if the tax take gets too high, then unfortunately contributions go down because the rich...
Okay, but we keep your assets then. You can leave.
And on top of that...
Go for it. But we keep
and on
your
top
shit.
of that, on top of that, she's just wrong. The tax take has increased. We are still to the left of the Laffer curve. Like, if tax take had gone down, maybe she'd have a point. But it hasn't, so she doesn't. Like, she's just making shit up. And even then, he left before he even tried to increase taxes. He left because he was a bellend, you know?
Yeah. Capital flight is bullshit.
And even then, if you were worried about capital flight, just have an exit tax. Switzerland, the place that does have one of the wealth tax in the world, has a 45% exit tax. 45%. No reason why we can't do that.
Yep.
Can afford to move elsewhere and avoid it. And that's not progress.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? Do you think that China would allow somebody to own billions and billions and billions of pounds of Chinese assets and then move to Monaco and not pay tax on those assets?
I have no idea what the policy would be in China, but then lots of billionaires in China are reliant on slave labour, so it's probably not the best example.
Listen, we have given the...
What the fuck has that got to do with it? What the fuck?
Newsflash, Camilla. Lots of billionaires in Britain also rely on slave labour. It's because they're billionaires. Their entire existence is predicated on exploitation. That's how you become a billionaire. And on top of this, Gary is basically right. If you don't want to pay tax in China, the Goon Squad shows up. Whereas we go, oh no, if you don't want to pay taxes, go and become Monegasque. You go and get your citizenship of the tax haven. China, when the billionaires start acting up, I'm not going to say for Twitch what happens, but I think people know.
Yeah, things happen. Yes. Exactly. And notice the savage brutality with which they'll deal with the disabled. But when it comes to the billionaires, we need to pussyfoot around them. We need to be super nice, otherwise they'll leave. Oh, they'll leave. Will they? I've got ways that we could make their assets not leave. They can fuck off if they want to. I don't care. I won't miss them. Also, just a little aside, Jim Ratcliffe was always been a cunt. Has always been a job-stealing, job-destroying prick. Literally, look at Man United right now. Literally sacking tea ladies. He's an evil man. I don't think we should design government policy around what Jim Ratcliffe wants. Frankly, I think we should design our justice and punishment around what Jim Ratcliffe doesn't want.
Actual assets of this country to very, very, very wealthy people, and we have created a tax system that makes it voluntary for them to pay tax. If you do that, ordinary people will get poorer and poorer and poorer every year, and millionaires and billionaires will get richer and richer every year, and ordinary people will not be able to buy homes and have families.
But Gary,
and
you're
I'm not just saying that, I
suggesting
bet
the
on
rich
that year
don't
after
pay
year.
tax in the UK, are you?
The tax burden is falling on working people. Working people pay rates at much higher levels.
But you also agree, I appreciate that working people are paying tax. Everyone's paying tax. Is anyone who's working not paying tax?
What the fuck? Are you actually brain dead?
Oh, she works for GB News, yes.
Everyone's paying tax. Are you paying tax? Who to pay the tax? Right. Address the point he's making. It is functionally voluntary, a lot of the tax on rich people. Poor people are paying disproportionately a higher percentage of the tax. No one's saying that they aren't paying any tax. It's that they're not paying anywhere near enough at all to keep us in a functioning, operating, thriving civilization.
Again, what she's going to do here is she's going to conflate income with wealth.
Yeah.
She's going to say, oh, well, the top 1% of earners pay lots of tax. And I'm like, well, that's true. But we're not talking about earners. We're talking about owners. We're not talking about the people who go out and earn their labour for a wage. We're talking about people who own loads of assets and use that capital to take out loans to be able to pay for day-to-day spending. We pay far less tax than everybody else because we don't have a wealth tax.
Also, if these rich bastards are so much fucking better, take all their money off them and they'll be millionaires again in no time, won't they?
They are the special beings. They are the great men of history.
They're big-brained, genius, thinky boys. So they'll definitely be billionaires in next to no time. So take all their money from them. It won't be a problem.
Literally.
Or maybe lightning doesn't strike twice, and you don't get that lucky twice.
The rich do pay their taxes. You're saying that you think they should pay more tax on their wealth? And are you differentiating between wealth or inheritance?
Wealth. They should pay tax on their wealth. If you don't tax these people on their wealth, they will squeeze everybody.
Inheritance becomes wealth as soon as it's inherited, you dumb bastard.
So, my God, in the debate between Gary Stevenson and Daniel Priestley, Daniel Priestley was like, you can't call inheritance and income. These are different things. And I'm like, it's just income in a different name. Or but if it's inheritance, then you're taxing it twice. And I'm like, no, look, the money is never taxed twice. Or there was once income, and then it's going to become another form of transfer, which is then going to get taxed. You're taxing it twice. Well, is it fucking taxed twice if the money that you're paid in your wage was money that was an income for a shop when they bought a product? Well, you're not calling that double taxation, are you? It's a dumb thing.
Literally, if you track,
Daniel Priestley is a fucking idiot.
If you track it back, every pound has been taxed like 1,000 times.
A trillion, billion, fazillion, gajillion
Exactly.
times. Like, who gives a shit, you know?
Yeah, like
But
the old thing
idea
about
that-
every particle of water has been pissed out at some point. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not the same fucking
Yeah.
thing anymore, is it, you dickheads?
Exactly. And the idea that somehow it's not an income just because you've inherited it rather than worked for it. No, it's income regardless of the source.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And as soon as you
It's
inherited
come
it,
into your bank account.
it's then wealth, because it's just going to sit there. Do you think the Prince Charles hasn't inherited those tens of billions and spent it? It's just lying in a bank account. So we've got no benefit for that money whatsoever, and he owns, like, Cornwall. What's the point? What good does that fucking do for anybody?
Literally. This is why the GB News people get mad about wealth taxes, is because their readership is fucking feudal lords in the southwest.
Basically, yes, yeah. And of course, they're paid for by dark money, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the European examples where that's been tried, France, Norway, etc., where they've had to scrap those schemes because...
Norway has not scrapped that scheme. Stop lying.
Yep. They've increased it, in fact, and it's generated more revenue.
Yeah.
A, they're too much to administrate, and B, they don't get enough revenue in. What's your response to that? Because it's not as if European nations haven't tried this. They've tried it, and unfortunately, it's failed.
Yeah, whenever people suggest this to me, I always think of the Conservative second home stamp duty tax. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm answering it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
But
answering it now. Listen.
what do you think we would do differently
When
the
the
European countries have not?
Jesus Christ, she has never, ever, ever done this for anyone else.
Yep,
Whenever
the tally
they-
is now up to...
Whenever they start a rambling sentence, which could go on to answer the question, but never does because they're a politician, she never redirects them and goes, no, you need to answer directly. You need to do this right now, right now. She just lets them fucking go for ages.
We're almost at parity now. We're at 6 interruptions for Gary versus 7 for everybody else combined.
Amazing. She didn't interrupt Camilla once. Oh, God. Oh, unbelievable.
Done.
When the second home stamp duty tax was brought in, I was very surprised because I didn't think the Conservatives would tax rich people. I looked into it. There was an exemption for people who bought 7 or more homes at once. And then Jeremy Hunt went and bought
What a
7
joke.
homes. Listen, I understand it is difficult to tax rich people because politicians are rich people and they're funded by rich people and they put loopholes in the system that mean rich people don't pay them and it ends up being paid by working people. That doesn't mean we don't do it. If
Okay,
you don't
I'm not
do
sure
it,
that's
then
answered the
ordinary
question.
people will be
And I've no idea if Jeremy Hunt did buy 7 homes incidentally, but, you know, I appreciate that's what he's saying. Let me bring...
Yeah, cover your ass there. Well done.
Guarantee that the wealth tax receipts go to the poor. This is the other problem.
Let me bring
they
Daisy
could go to
in.
public sector pay rises for train drivers that are already on good.
Oh, no. Imagine that. And where are they going to hoard their money? Oh, no, they're not. They're going to spend it. It's fine, actually. It will go to
Literally,
the
she's
poorest.
trying to pit train drivers against billionaires. Like, if that shouldn't tell you that these GB News, Telegraph, Spectator, Paul Marshall funded motherfuckers are just the bourgeois in the class war, then I don't know what else to tell you. They're defending billionaires by attacking train drivers, the people who are out there getting you to work every day. These people are scumbags. They're vermin.
Literally, a useful person, like a train driver, is worth 1 million Camilla Tominees.
Yeah, because they're out working 5 days a week doing 8-hour days. This motherfucker works 4-day weeks and does 3 hours work a day, speaking to a bloody microphone. And again, I'll point out, I can say this because my job is speaking into a microphone for 3 hours a day. I full well can criticise her for doing what I do.
And unlike these motherfuckers, we're not on 6 figures. Hint, hint, chat. I'll leave it there. That counts as a plug, I think. I don't know.
Camilla, let's let Daisy answer the question, because she's sat there for quite some time now. Who should be plugging the deficit, benefit claimants or billionaires?
We Liberal Democrats have repeatedly said that we should be raising revenue in a fairer way, and the way to do that is to go after...
But it is by doing 5p bag taxes whilst the poor get strangled to death. Yippee! I will never, ever let you forget it.
No, the companies that are making billions and billions and billions in profits that can afford to pay a little bit more to help get our public services back on their feet. So we would start by reversing the tax cut that the Conservatives gave to the big banks, take it back to 2015 levels. We would increase taxes on the big social media companies, on the big online gaming companies that are making billions of pounds in profits. And that would be an alternative way to raise the money that we desperately need to get our NHS and our education system back on their feet. But at the same time, the gentleman alluded to this earlier, we have got to get growth into our economy. The fastest, simplest way to get more growth into our economy right now is for the UK government to actually renegotiate our trading deal with the EU.
Hey! FBPE posting, let's go!
Literally, every single week you have a Lib Dem on and they go, this is a really nuanced issue which has a myriad factors that could be done to solve it. And do you know what the best way of solving it would be?
Rejoin dividend. Let's go.
Again, for people who don't know what that's a reference to, in the 2019 election, the Liberal Democrats' Grey Book, which is essentially a costings document you put alongside your manifesto to show how you're going to pay for your manifesto pledges, they had a £40 billion Remain dividend that was going to pay for literally all of their public spending.
Which is, you know, all of that magic money that the EU give you for nothing. Yeah, that exists.
And the irony is that, you know, both me and Kev, we're pro-EU, at least, you know, in utilitarian terms, right?
Yeah,
we think rejoining would be better than staying out, given the kind of politicians we have at our disposal, right? We recognise the economic benefits, but we don't say to every single question, rejoin the EU.
Yeah, it's the
other policies.
It's literally these motherfuckers, they stub their toe in the morning. Oh, if only we'd rejoin the EU. This wouldn't have happened. Thank you, Andy Carter, for gifting a membership on the Yam Chobes. Much love to
Absolutely. We need rejoin the EU and skills wallets, right? The full package.
True.
5p bags.
British businesses can trade more easily. We Liberal Democrats did some research and found that since Brexit, British businesses
still
have
going.
2 billion pieces of paper just to trade with Europe. That amount of paper could wrap around the world 15 times. We should be renegotiating
If
that.
only it fucking had. We'd have all suffocated and I wouldn't need to listen to you.
One thing as well is that's like it's such a silly metric, right? Because that's all of the companies all together combined, you know,
Yeah.
how many transactions. There's some weird like napkin maths that they've done, and then they wrapped it around the world. Like, I'm sorry, but this isn't an actual statistic. I know you're trying to dumb things down for the audience, but just say that it's pro-growth, because it is.
Yeah. Imagine a football field with paper on it and it's 27 miles in the sky. Like, fucking hell, man. Yeah, they filled it. They have. Oh, fucking Christ! I've got to change that fucking noise alert. It's gonna actually kill me. Thank you, Niall, for damn near killing me. Much love. They say. I'll be honest, one of the reasons I donate is to watch Kev's reaction to the super chat. You cunt! You fucking horrible, heartless cunt! Fuck off. Anyway, Kev, do you want a blue, white and red... Oh, sorry, red, white and blue Brexit? No, I want a red, white and blue return, is what I want. Re-entrance.
That's right. That's the right entrance for Britain.
Exactly. Honestly, I don't think anything has gotten my hackles up more in the history of British politics. There's things I've hated and despised because they're really cruel policies, but there's nothing that's just fundamentally gotten under my skin more than we're going to do a red, white and blue Brexit. It's the most patronising thing I've ever heard. Theresa May, I will see you in the pits of hell. We're going to go one-on-one, motherfucker.
Trade deal, getting rid of that red tape, unleashing the potential of British businesses that want to trade more freely with our European neighbours and get a customs union that works with British businesses by 2030.
And just briefly, because a number of Labour MPs have called for this. Gary's obviously calling for it.
Wow, I wasn't expecting anti-Brexit in fucking Kent to get a round of applause, if I'm honest. But there you go.
Do the Lib Dems support the idea of a wealth tax?
No, I think the problem with the wealth
Obviously
tax is
not.
generally...
Obviously not. They're the Lib Dems. They're shit. No.
The thing is, what you know, the Lib Dems' like biggest voter base is people who earn £100,000 or more.
Yeah,
that's like in terms of like where they get a plurality of their votes from.
Basically, they're sort of like soft Tories who are pro-Brexit and don't hate the gays. Well, some of them don't hate the gays. We don't need to go into it.
They are pride flag Thatcherites, is what they are.
Basically, yes. Except, of course, certain ex-leaders aren't so much about the pride flags.
No, true.
It doesn't work. It's been tried in a lot of different countries, and over the course of the last 20 years, I think those 12 countries have reduced down to just 3 countries, and the 3 countries that are using it have a completely different tax system. So there are problems with wealth taxes. They're very difficult to administer.
Can we have a completely different tax system then, please? Well, that's not an argument against it. It just means our tax system is different and wrong.
And Norway don't have a different tax system to us. They just don't have a different tax system to us. They just have a similar tax system. They've got like changing like consumption taxes, but they have a very similar model of income tax to us.
And some of it is propped up, obviously, by them using their oil wealth responsibly rather than just, you know, letting private industry have it all.
Well, that's true, right? The dividends from their index fund, their sovereign wealth fund, is used for their pension receipts, which we don't have. So we spend billions of pounds a year on pension funds that come out of the state pension comes direct from taxation, from day-to-day expenditure, and Norway don't have to do that. So they have plenty more to spend on the rest of the public services. But regardless, they don't have that different a tax system that it means a wealth tax is like this crazy thing.
That's sorry, chat. This is weird. See, this is why AI is evil. I didn't ask them to do this. I didn't want this to happen. But they've created... I mean, it's cursed, is what it is. That is, I believe, you and me as co-monarchs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just as we should be,
Yeah. That happened. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Scouse Raw, for the thingamajig. Yeah, tax the rich, not Kevin Logan. I mean, I should be taxed too, just like not as much as billionaires, because I'm not a billionaire yet. Depends how generous you are, chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, we've got the Hassan house on the horizon.
Literally.
Give it another few years.
Literally. Thank you, XYZ. Z. I keep saying Z because it's Americans, but Z. Class war, let's go. Yeah, okay.
True.
It's very hard to assess the cost of how much some things are in terms of intellectual property and artwork. They're very complicated. They're administratively difficult.
So
and
it's
they
not...
Oh, it's the artwork. Oh, that's really terrible. Oh, we can't tax them because they've got paintings. Fuck off.
But even then, like, just do land value taxes, change property taxation. You know, even if it's not like a direct like asset tax, if it's not like an estate tax on people's entire net wealth, then at least tax specific assets that they've got, like property, like land.
Also, give the fucking Parthenon marbles back and steal the paintings from these dickheads and put them up in their place. Why can we... the one thing we're good at is our museum stealing art. So let's do it to rich bastards here.
True.
A Lib Dem policy.
But it's not a Lib Dem policy, but we can go after those big businesses that are making billions of pounds.
All right. I am going to leave that subject there for now. I just want to tell you where we'll be next week before we take another question. That will be Cardiff. And that's our last show before the Easter break. And then we return on the 8th of May when we will be in Hull. So if you want to be in our audience in Cardiff or in Hull, go to the Question Time website, follow the instructions.
It's like a gulp. It's a gulping noise.
Oh. Yeah. The locals have managed to take a 4-letter word and still not pronounce it fully.
Geraint, where are you sitting? Geraint Williams. Off you go.
How should we, the United Kingdom, respond to Donald Trump's tariffs and America First trade policies?
What, we pathetic freeloaders, you mean?
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Invade. We should invade and take it back.
Before we move on to this question, but linked to your answer there, we should also invade the Cayman Islands.
I've said this before. Yeah, there's no excuse. We can take them. Definitely.
Yep, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, we're fucking coming for you, mate.
Yeah. To be fair, we already did invade the Bahamas a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny that, that Donald Trump wants to invade Panama, and not so that he can get hold of all of the millions squirreled away there from tax avoidance. No, he just wants control of the fucking Panama Canal.
Literally. Thank you, Crastronomy, with 6 bits, who says, here's your 6 figures. Thanks. I appreciate that. Much love.
Okay, so listen, every morning we wake up and something new has happened. So we woke up this morning to hear that Donald Trump had announced 25% tariffs on all cars going into the US from next week. How should we respond, Richard?
Look, I don't want to see tariffs anywhere. I don't want to see. I don't think they're necessary in this context. This is not some form of the UK's sort of dumping products around the world. That's not the case. We're a high-end manufacturer. I think we obviously want.
And when they say high-end manufacturer, they have to say that because we're certainly not a bulk manufacturer anymore.
A high-end manufacturing of Range Rovers for soccer mums in the United States. What's going to happen to them if there's a tariff?
True. That's actually true. I did my work experience a long time ago now at the Gaydon Land Rover Test and Development site. It was amazing. You've not lived until you've popped industrial-sized bubble wrap, is all I'll say. I wasted literally thousands of pounds of like industrial-sized bubble, so it's like the size of your hand, basically, and you go for like wrapping up car doors and stuff. It was amazing. Loved it.
Want to be in a situation where we can get a negotiated settlement to this. I wish that the government had taken. And
on that point, I did have there was Elon Musk is now apparently not so keen on the old tariffs anymore. Because obviously it's not just cars; it's the components of cars, isn't it? So, to Tesla owners of Silicon Valley, Trump imposes 25% tariff on cars not made in the USA. Tesla could benefit the most on this. And Elon says, to be clear, this will affect the price of parts in Tesla cars that come from other countries. The cost impact is not trivial. So, even when he buys the federal government, he still gets fucking rinsed. He's the biggest loser there's ever been, I swear to God.
He's literally that scene in The Simpsons with Sideshow Bob stepping on the rakes.
He really is. Except some of those rakes are his children.
Because clearly Donald Trump doesn't love Tesla.
I
love Tesla.
Well, it's all computers, you say. He doesn't understand it.
Everything is computer.
On Donald Trump, as soon as he was announced as president, that he's going to be president when he was president-elect, and perhaps get some of these negotiations started a bit sooner. We now hear the government's hoping to get something sorted out by the start of April, but it'll be right down to the wire. So I think they could have kicked it off sooner.
I think the thing the Tories are most annoyed about is that they thought that Trump was going to kibosh the Chagos Islands deal. When we cucked out and went, like, even though we've signed this agreement and everyone's okay with it, we're going to wait until the incoming not yet president has to say on this. And then Donald Trump went, yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, you can do that. Cool. And the Tories were fucking mad. Because they still go on about the Chagos deal now.
Again, they wonder why they're losing votes to reform, because they just talk about random shit no one fucking cares about.
Well, they literally did. They talked about the Chagos deal in Mel Stride's response to the spring statement. He talked as much about the Chagos deal as he did about disabled people.
They don't fucking care.
Doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't give a fuck.
But look, this is a new way of negotiation. We've got to learn to.
It's not negotiation. No,
we're operating.
There needs to be a clarification here, because we were told for ages and ages that with Trump and Vance and all these people and Elon Musk, it's going to be transactional. There's going to be a transactional thing. It's the art of the deal, you know. There's no negotiation here. We've given them everything, and they're still fucking us. Did you see the fucking deal they're trying to enforce on the Ukrainians for their minerals? Look, you know this idea that it was going to be 50-50. No, a panel of 5 people, 3 of which will be Americans, will have veto over all natural resources in Ukraine. All of them.
Dear Lord, it's just such a fucking mess, isn't it?
So there's no transaction here. There's no deal. We're not negotiating. We're being fucked. Stand up, for fuck's sake.
Exactly.
God almighty. It's like, and America's taking it for granted because we've got such cooked politicians. They can just take it for granted that America's erstwhile allies are going to continue to accept its dominance, as if it's in their best interest, in a way that, to a degree, from a geopolitical perspective, it has been for the last 100 years. Well, it fucking clearly, demonstrably isn't anymore. And yet we've still got Atlanticist wankers like this prick and fucking the current government pretending like it is. As Donald Trump literally spits in our face, they're like, oh, the special relationship's awesome. It's fucking embarrassing.
Literally, it's the one acceptable opinion, just like everything else, one acceptable opinion, not allowed to deviate.
Yeah. If only we had a politician anywhere with any semblance of creativity or just an open mind at all. But no, the Trilateral Commission is the only thing that ever gets to run foreign policy. That's it.
In a different way to the way we were before, but we've got to negotiate and we've got to act in Britain's interest to ensure that we don't get these tariffs hitting our car sector particularly.
And do you think, is there any sense you think that Donald Trump has got a point in that cars that we export to the US are subject, well, until April the 2nd, to a 2.5% tariff? Cars that come into the UK from the US are subject to a 10% tariff.
Well, these are all parts of the negotiation which the government should have kicked off as soon as they knew that Donald Trump was president-elect. Instead, they waited all the way until Keir Starmer.
Okay, you've made that point. I'm not just asking you to think Donald Trump has a point, given that disparity.
Well, I just think they should have started negotiations sooner because there needs to be give and take on all of these things.
Daisy.
So there's only one language that Donald Trump understands, and that is the language of strength.
Oh, I thought she was going to say Elvish. Oh.
And it strikes me that the UK government at the moment thinks that if it just cowers in the corner, maybe it'll just hope that we're just hoping that Donald Trump isn't too mean to us. And I don't think that is a decent strategy. So I think we need to talk tough, like many other countries are doing, France, Germany, Canada and the rest. And I think that starts by saying that we should be at least preparing for retaliatory tariffs. And secondly, if we're going to negotiate with Donald Trump, if we want to negotiate a trade deal on services, then in a negotiation you have to have other options on the table to show that you're...
We aren't going to get a deal. Stop pretending. Stop selling a line of shit to the British public. We've had 4 years of Donald Trump. We've had 4 years of Biden. We've had, what, another 3 months of Donald Trump. We are no closer to getting this free trade agreement that we've been fucking desperately whoring ourselves out for all of these years post-Brexit. We're not going to get one because we already give everything to America that they could possibly want from us. So we have no leverage. We have, to use the Trumpian phrase, you've got no cards.
Absolutely 100% true. You're absolutely right. And ironically, this would be the time where she should say, rather than trying to cuck out to the Trump administration and America and continue this Atlanticist fantasy, we should be getting closer with the European Union that is trying to form a united front against Trump and America and the fantasy of Atlanticism. But of course, that will fall particularly flat when her answer to literally everything else is rejoin the EU.
It would be funny if this was the one time they didn't bring it up. The one time it was actually relevant. Brilliant. Hello there, Mixed Vivian Wolf. Everyone go and follow Mixed Vivian Wolf immediately. Otherwise I will strike down upon thee with furious vengeance. And you will know I am the Lord!
Also, I mean, to be fair, Neon 147, why would we rejoin the EU when we can commit our souls to the Chinese century of prosperity? I don't see why we should do one or the other. I don't know why we should, why being a member of the European Union would therefore would preclude us from some kind of mutual trading relationship with China. If we're going to be in a political bloc where we're either cucks out to America or have a decent, mutually beneficial relationship with China, this seems obvious to me.
Well, you know, I've been Belt and Road pilled for a long time. It's the only way we're ever going to get a road or fucking railway built ever. Xi Jinping coming, you can Put up your weird fucking spying stations. We've already got American spying stations, so who gives a fuck at this point? Build us a fucking railway, please.
Walk away. And the other option we should have on the table is negotiating this customs union with the European Union. What I'm particularly worried about, and what I think is unforgivable, is the government seems to be saying that they're happy to reduce the digital services tax, which is the tech tax on Elon Musk and 20 other
of 2%.
Big, of 2%. This tech tax that is waged on the 20 largest online social media companies, and the government is thinking about reducing that, whilst at the same time making a cut to personal independence payments to disabled people. And I think it would be unforgivable for the government to go ahead with these cuts.
It would be terrible to go ahead with these cuts without implementing any kind of bag tax.
It's true. Like, again, the point she's making is incredibly salient.
Yeah.
She's making a very, very salient point here about taking money away from the disabled, only to give tax cuts to Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, the people who are bankrolling the current Trump administration. And I'm just like, this would have like 10 times the veracity behind it if you weren't the people who sold out the disabled people from 2010 to 2015 in exchange for like an alternative vote referendum that you lost and taxes on plastic bags.
Very much so.
For disabled people who are receiving, and their carers, but at the same time giving a £5 billion giveaway to these big online giants in an attempt to appease Donald Trump. So we've got to talk tough.
So when you say we've got to talk tough and retaliate, what would you do?
Well,
So
We've got, look, what's the point in having nuclear weapons if you're not going to use... Sorry.
Well, they have the access codes, though. We can't launch them without the US.
True, but now we've got their access codes because of the WhatsApp group. So, you know.
True. Let's find just friend request Tulsi Gabbard on Facebook and get her to give us the codes.
Yeah, just go out there fishing with some Hindup for fucking propaganda. Become friends with her, and you'll have the nuclear codes by next Wednesday. And then it's game on, motherfuckers.
Hello, my name is Mr. Modi. I would like the access codes, please.
Oh,
What's
yes,
your
Mr.
first
Modi.
name, Modi? I don't know.
Guy Incognito Modi. Yes.
do you retaliate with tariffs of our own, and if so, on what?
Two things. We should start preparing the groundwork for retaliatory tariffs, so it is an option that we have.
On what? Like what?
Well, start with Tesla tariffs to start with.
Yes.
Hit Elon Musk.
Listen to that, Elon, you prick. Literally. Straight away. Tesla tax. No detail, no amount, nothing. Just the idea of putting tax specifically on you, you prick. Gets a round of applause.
Absolutely.
You are that despised. I'm absolutely fine with her. Let's go. We'll call it a Nazi tax. Sorry, no, sorry, not a Nazi tax. A Roman tax. Apologies.
The second thing is, we can also say, and I think the government should be preparing and getting very active about having a better trade deal with the European Union.
You've already fucking made that point. I'm not going to let you do the fucking FBPE thing again, dickhead. Literally just shut her the fuck down. Bless. Thank you, Ratchet9868, for becoming a member on the YouTubes.
Retaliatory tariffs, you've mentioned only Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what the sales of Tesla are, but I know they're quite expensive cars. I think most people probably don't have a Tesla. What, if you want to respond with strength, and this is the Lib Dems' big...
And also, a lot of their cars aren't even fucking roadworthy in the UK anyway.
No, true.
Did you see that? Two people imported Cybertrucks, and they both got impounded by the Greater Manchester Police.
Incredible.
Because they're not roadworthy, so they didn't have any like road tax or insurance, so they just impounded them.
Based.
Yeah. Very rare police W. Well done, lads.
What is the strength you're going to show?
As I say, it should definitely start with the Tesla tariff, because that will hit...
But what else? Anything else?
It's for the government to work out what all the other issues are.
This is your policy. I presume you must have some ideas.
Sure. Well, our idea is to start with Tesla tariffs and to go from there, because that will hit Elon Musk.
Okay, so just Tesla. All right. Let's just start, I suppose. Gary.
I've got to be honest, I don't know how to negotiate with Donald Trump. I've never had to do it before. I'm quite glad. Good luck. I think it will be probably quite difficult. We don't run a significant trade surplus with the US. I don't think it's in the US's interest to tariff us. I don't think it's going to...
Yeah, that's the point. If Trump's whole point was we're doing this because of significant trade deficits, there'd be loads of countries, including Britain, that wouldn't be a part of this. But that's not the point. He's doing it just to show that, like, he's pretending to be America first.
I mean, I don't even think he's doing that. I think he's doing it because he's an idiot. Someone said, look at this time in the past when America was great and we did tariffs. And he goes, that tariff sounds like a lovely thing to do. I love tariffs. If the Americas, when it was great, we did when America was great, we'll make America great again by bringing back the tariffs that we used to have when everything was great and before these blacks had rights and before we anything like this.
Fair enough.
Work to improve living standards of American people. I think we should look very closely at what happens to America in the next few years, because the economy here will keep getting worse. And there's basically two voices in the room about how we fix the economy, which is me and my lot saying tax the rich, and there's Trump and his lot saying the problem is foreigners, the problem is immigrants. So I would advise people in the room to look very carefully at what happens to American living standards in the next 3 or 4 years, because that could happen here if you vote the wrong way in the next election.
But in terms of how we respond, do you think we should just kind of suck it up and say, OK, and just not respond, respond with tariffs of our own, or go out guns blazing as Daisy's tentative?
I think Daisy sounds like she talks a lot of sense. I think it's risky to upset Donald Trump. I think that we've seen that. It's not just Tesla, you know, there's a whole horde of tech billionaires that export an enormous amount to the UK. You know.
Yeah, but she's not the one that ever has to implement that policy, and it's very popular. So you can just say, yeah, Tesla tax. 100% tax on Elon Musk. And that's a vote winner. And she'll never have to do it, so it's fine. Win-win.
Like, you didn't even like tariffs. Just fucking pass a law that if Elon Musk ever sets foot in the UK, he gets put in the stocks and you get to publicly throw tomatoes at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting, like fucking the Jeb Bush meme of me being prime minister and the entire country in purple.
Yeah, literally.
You know, the Amazons, all of these enormous tech companies, Facebook. We could look into how much money we're sending there. We could look into building UK alternatives. But like I say, I've never had to negotiate with Donald Trump or Elon Musk, and my best wishes to Darren.
All right. We'll come to you, Darren, in a minute. Yes, someone there with the glasses.
That was quite a weak answer, I have to say.
I mean, if it's not an international trade expert, is he? So
no, that's fair, but like you can be a bit more combative. Look, I'm not saying he's trying to set himself up as the leader of the left, but like he's something of a thought leader. On the left, he's written a book. He does all of these media interviews. He's like, and he talks about my side or whatever. Like, I think you've got to be a bit more combative with Trump because you're not a politician, so you don't have to be nicey about him. I just think that's a flaccid answer. You know,
I think you're right. And I think that you're talking about not just talk about taxation, and you talk about the economic model and who funds who. You know, just being like, well, if he's doing these things, he's being told to by strategists, and those strategists are going to be people who have the interests of Musk and Bezos at heart. So if we capitulate, we're doing what the billionaires want to do, and he's pitched himself as a person who doesn't like billionaires or doesn't want the interests of billionaires to be adhered to by politicians. Maybe that's the angle that you take.
Yeah.
Given that Trump has now put in these 25% tariffs, and the Conservative government would have been much more friendly to Donald Trump, does Labour now regret some of the decisions that they've taken in poking the Trump bear and some of the...
Who poked the bear? What are you talking about?
They fucking slurped his cum.
Yeah, they couldn't have done more to ride his dick. What are you talking about? Oh, is she one of these fucking reverse Trump derangement syndrome people who just like everything he does is awesome? So the fact that fucking Jonathan Ashworth went over there for 2 days and campaigned for Kamala. So all these women look the same to me. I can't tell the difference. They went to campaign for Kamala, and then instantly they went and lost again. Thanks, Ashworth. You really are very special. That's enough. That's enough for them to be like, no, you're evil and bad.
That was true. I mean, Lammy was kind of rude about Trump when in opposition. That's right. That's true, Big Al. But he then had dinner bought 2 dinners, and he's changed all of his opinions.
Yeah. Also, he's an adult. You know, Donald Trump is an adult. The fact that some people were mean to him in the past He's put himself in a position where he's now the leading diplomat of his nation. Maybe you're going to have to talk to some people who were rude to you in the past. And you're Donald Trump. You don't get to have a thin skin about this. You are literally Mr. taking the piss out of disabled journalists. You are Mr. Mexicans are rapists. Get fucked.
He is the arch king of triggering the libs.
Well, that's. I mean, this is the whole thing. Did you see the hubbub about Governor Hot Wheels?
Oh my god! Apparently, for every motherfucker in Texas calls him Governor Hot Wheels. It's just a colloquial name, which is kind of a pet name.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly, and but I mean, I still wouldn't call it him because it does seem a bit out of order. But the idea that a man who has done all he can to eviscerate the disabled in his own state, and Donald Trump having been, you know, a man who has not been the wokest when it comes to disability rights issues, are going to pearl clutch about that. Get fucked. You literally made fun of Nancy Pelosi's husband having a hammer put through his skull. I don't think that fucking Governor Hot Wheels by comparison is that bad a deal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but Star Spangled Shitlog, that was a really mean joke to make about him.
That was, and also I prefer the alternative, Adolf Hitler.
The language that they've used in regards to Trump and to his administration.
It's worth, yes, I mean, I know you're talking about a number of senior members of the cabinet have been very critical of Trump. Obviously, Trump's own vice president has been very critical of Trump as well, comparing him to Hitler. So
lately.
Yes. And do you support the idea of the tariffs?
So I don't necessarily support the idea of protectionism, and I don't support it there, and I don't necessarily support it here either. However, I do feel that we should be looking, to a degree, in our own economy first, how we can improve our own economy and not looking at external sources in the first instance.
All right, the man behind you.
Utterly meaningless. Brilliant, thanks.
I think Trump is a bully. And to be honest with you, if you think about the playground bully, unless you find a stronger person to stand up to them or you fight back, they're not going to stop. I don't think Trump will stop. So every country that Trump is trying to bully should stand up.
But the really annoying thing is as an individual, he's pathetic. Like, physically, you know you could knock him down with a feather. And emotionally, you could knock him down by painting a slightly iffy portrait of him. Right? Like, that's enough to get him outraged. But unfortunately, he has the power of the largest army and economy on Earth behind him now. Which makes him a lot stronger than he could ever possibly be without it.
And in fact, very quickly you see that Trump will back down because right now he's behaving like Putin, bullying everybody.
Do you think he would back down, Camilla?
Well, I think he's transactional, and I think Britain should maximise its opportunity.
Again, you daft bastard. What is transactional? We have given him everything, and he has still put tariffs on us. This isn't a transaction. It's like saying, well, technically it's a transaction of the bullet from my gun into your chest. Like, it technically, I guess. But it's not really a deal, is it?
Regard to a trade deal of being outside the EU, which is not something that the Lib Dems credit Brexit for, but we are in a slightly different position to our continental neighbours.
Yeah, in theory, yes, that's true. In theory, we could sign a free trade agreement with America because we're outside the EU. We fucking haven't, though, have we? It doesn't exist. In theory land, we've got a wonderful free trade agreement because we're outside of the EU and we haven't got one.
When did we trigger Article 50? We came out like 2019, was it 2020 we came out? We've had 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years for an FTA. We still don't have one.
Yeah, and we're not even closer to it. We're not even closer.
No,
we haven't
we're
signed
further
like...
away.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Yeah, in theory, it's freed us up to be able to do all of these trade deals that we haven't done. But we have joined the FTPP to PPP, and we've got an increase of 0.00001% to the economy. Brilliant.
But he is saying he's going to put the tariffs on the UK as well as the EU and
Sure, but I'm
everybody
just
else.
saying that because we aren't in the EU group, we may have a better negotiating position. And Rachel Reeves was saying today that there is an ongoing dialogue with the Americans about this. Not sure how a Tesla tariff helps the Lib Dems' green agenda.
I'm not sure them spitting on us and calling us a dirty bitch is really technically a dialogue. you know.
Either. What's
Hang on a
weird in the
minute, hang on a
dichotomy
minute.
here for
He
Trump
says,
is
I don't know
that
how
on one hand he's
putting a Tesla tariff is going to help the Lib Dems' green credentials. You know there are other electric vehicle manufacturers in the fucking world, Camilla. Like, I don't know, like, there are British manufacturers, MG.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not really British anymore, they're owned by a German company, but like MG do electric vehicles, and that's based, at least they're manufactured in Britain.
Yeah.
You could get the fucking cheap Xiaomi ones from fucking China.
Yeah, like they do this, like, oh, the Liberals have all it took was Trump derangement syndrome to turn against electric vehicles. No, no one's against electric vehicles. We're against Tesla.
Nazis.
Tesla. That's who we're
Tesla.
against, because they're fucking evil. Elon Musk is an evil man. That's it. The other ones, I don't give a fuck. They go and buy an electric car. It's better.
saying to Europe, you must step up your
And
defence
definitely don't burn down Tesla dealerships. That's terrible. Don't do that. That's illegal.
That's arson, and that's illegal. Do not do that.
Crimes are always bad and totally not hilarious.
I mean, they are bad. They can be both bad and hilarious.
They can be, but on this occasion, it's just bad. So don't do it, chat. You've been warned. I've marked your fucking card.
spending. And on the other hand, he is clobbering their economy, which doesn't make sense. He's not going to get that extra spending by NATO countries if the likes of Germany and France see a huge drop in their GDP because their economies are so reliant on their car exports. So in that way, it's economically nonsensical.
So the
But
question
he's
is,
a
how do we
transactional person.
how do we respond?
It's the art of the deal, and it's for Darren and Darren's people to try and go over to America and try and work out what kind of deal could be brokered with somebody that is clearly, yes, there's protectionism because of this isolationist America first.
But this is the thing, right? Trump went in there and said NAFTA wasn't good enough. So Mexico and Canada upturned their entire relationship with their largest trading partner to sign Trump's fucking deal. And as soon as he gets the next chance, it's not good enough. They're getting tariffed. So what's the point of signing a fucking deal with the guy? It doesn't get you anywhere.
David was right in saying that he's like they're an unreliable partner. I mean, you should say they're a shit partner because they are.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's totally unreliable. Again, if you want to have a good trading relationship, go fucking anywhere else.
Literally.
If these people want to isolate themselves, let them isolate themselves, and we can have a party with the Ursula von der Leyen and Xi Jinping. I hate both of them, but at least they want to trade fucking in a way that's mutually beneficial.
And when you sign a deal with them, they'll actually broadly stick to it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, okay, that's at least reliable. Like, he's not going to impose a 20% tariff and then the next day get rid of it. Like, how the fuck do you build any kind of economic sustainability with that? It's fucking stupid.
First approach, but also his shtick with the American people is, I'm going to make you richer, and I'm going to bring down the price of eggs. And therefore, this is a man that
And
can
that
be
hasn't
dealt
happened.
with. I do agree with the lady who has made the suggestion that
When
it
it
probably
comes to
would have been
acts against
better
inanimate
if
Teslas,
Labour in
is
opposition
anything
had
of value
pitch-rolled
lost?
for the prospect of a US presidency being once again held by Donald Trump, rather than David Lammy and co., Sadiq Khan and others, spending all that time slagging him off. It wasn't...
Oh no, they were being mean to him. And he's literally calling the Prime Minister of Canada the governor. Get fucked. Like, respect doesn't go one way, motherfucker. It's ridiculous. Like, did you see those fucking group chats about Europe? I'm sick of bailing the Europeans out. What a bunch of wankers. This is the way they talk about us. The special relationship, yeah? Brilliant.
And the irony, of course, is that there's literally their imperial interests that they were defending.
Yeah.
This wasn't being done because they fucking love Europe and they're best buddies and they always wanted to be their little sugar daddy. No, they knew that at the time, before the American government became incredibly friendly with Russia, they were defending them against. They were the bulwark against American interests against Russia. That's the whole point. That's why they were funding it. It was nothing to do with them us being their special little guy.
Also, like, American governments used to understand with things like the Marshall Plan, you invest in those places essentially to buy them. Like, it's not, you're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. It's an investment so that you get to geopolitically control those nations. It's imperialism via different means. Whereas Trump wants all of the benefits of that without giving you a penny. In fact, actually, he wants to
Exactly.
extract billions from you and expect you to grovel. That isn't going to fucking happen.
Nope.
That you don't get the benefits of that system. You know, with the old adage, you don't get to if you don't pay the piper, you don't get to call the fucking tune, do you? You know. Thank you, Wayward Historian, with 1312 bits. That's just a random number, I think. I can't imagine there's anything to that. When it comes to acts of violence acts against inanimate Teslas, is anything of value lost? Not really, but that's not the point. The law is good because it's written by people who care and are wise, and therefore you should always follow all laws. Yes. Don't forget, everybody, you can give us both money in the form of bits and subs and subscriptions and super chats and all of that jazz. We've got shit. Well, mainly I think because of your raid, I've got 230 people watching on YouTube, which is fucking dope. Hello, everybody.
That is good.
Hello.
Subscribe, like the stream.
Yeah, you should hit the follow button and like and... No, the follow button isn't a thing on YouTube. You can subscribe for nothing. You can hit the... Smash the shit out of the like button. And all of that jazz.
Unexpected that Trump would win a second term. So in opposition, the Labour...
Was it that unexpected?
Well, I called it on election night.
I didn't think it was that. Oh, look, I was a little bit surprised in the sense that a lot of the polling suggested otherwise, but like, it wasn't crazy surprising. It was a bit surprising he won the popular vote. That was a bit out there.
Yes,
but...
yeah, that was the surprise. Yeah, I think so.
Really should have prepped for this.
Everyone's sort of saying, you know,
They didn't prep for anything. Why would they prep for something outside of the country? They didn't prep for their own fucking briefs, for God's sake.
They didn't prep for being successful at the election.
Yeah. They did. Yeah, they didn't prep for their own election, let alone somebody else's fucking election.
we've got to get a deal. Let's just remember, America has a trade deal with Canada and with Mexico, and neither of them, that didn't protect either of them from having tariffs put on them. So even if we do get a trade deal with the US, and I hope we can get a trade deal on services with the US, that still doesn't protect us from his unreliable and unpredictable behaviour. So we have got to look to our closest friends and allies in Europe at the same time.
So, Darren, it's all kind of pointing towards you, isn't it? I mean, you know, do you feel lucky?
Look, I mean, what is it that we need from our government? We need a government that is grown up, that is considered, and that is acting in British interest. That's what we are doing, and I think everybody's seen.
We need to have grown-ups in the room, the adult sensibles. Yay! I'm sure Donald Trump will definitely respect your bit. 100%. If there's one person in this world I think Donald Trump would react really well to, it's James O'Brien. Definitely.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been providing that international leadership in a really successful way on foreign affairs and security and defence issues over the last few weeks and months, where a lot is going on in the world, things are changing.
You absolute fucking chode choker. You pathetic bastard. Donald Trump has been really leading on defence issues. He's literally bombing fucking cancer hospitals in Yemen, you bastard. He's literally actively aiding and abetting a genocide in Gaza. But then again, so are you, I suppose.
True, yeah. I'm saying like father, like son.
Yeah. Or like top like bottom, I guess.
Rapidly, but the UK is able to provide leadership, yes, at home, but also abroad, and to be able to form that bridge between the United States and the European Union and other parts of the world. We should be proud of the fact that Britain has that standing in the world, that we have that respect in the...
Oh, hang on. Well, is this true? Trump didn't win the popular vote. Late returns gave substantial vote majority for Harris. Is that true? I'd need a link for that, John D. That's a new one.
Yeah, but we're still getting lumped with. You're still getting hit with the tariffs, aren't we, Darren? I mean, do you think we're the best one in the world? Well, that's what he said. He might wake up tomorrow morning and say something different. But today he is saying 25% tariffs on us, and of course the steel and aluminium tariffs have already come in. You know, you've got the consultation on.
And literally, what benefit has the special relationship brought to us in this? What benefit over and above any other nation have we garnered for that? Nothing.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Nothing.
I did check. So maybe they were talking about the fact that it did, like, that he didn't get a majority of the votes, right? The remaining votes going to Harris meant that she didn't get beaten by a majoritarian candidate, so he only won a plurality rather than a majority.
Okay, technically I said he won. Oh, I did say he won the popular vote. I meant he won more votes than Kamala Harris did. Yeah, technically because of that and the Libertarians and write-ins and the Greens and stuff. Yeah, he might have got a plurality rather than a majority. Fair point. Yeah. But the fact that he got more votes than the Democratic candidate is sort of the point.
That's what people usually mean by saying winning the popular vote, right?
Yeah. But technically, I worded it incorrectly. Fair point.
Sure.
1,000 job losses in Scunthorpe by British Steel, blaming in part the tariffs that are already being imposed. Do you think countries like Germany, for example, that say it needs to be clear we'll not take this line down, or France saying the EU has to raise its own tariffs, do you think that's the wrong approach?
Just as a lover of history, can Germany continue to lie down, please? Can you just carry on lying down? I don't mind you lying down, to be honest.
We have to take a different approach in Britain. And look, whether it's on the debate on tax or the debate on tariffs, there's no easy answer. If there was an easy answer, we would take it, obviously. These are complicated issues, but we think we're providing the right type of leadership in negotiating with the Americans. We have to remember that the UK and the US has an important relationship, irrespective of who the president is from any time to time. We trade...
See, it's not even... He can't even imagine a world where the special relationship isn't there. So ingrained is this Atlanticist fucking orthodoxy that they can't imagine it. It doesn't matter who the president is. We're always going to be cucked out to the Americans. Just deal with it, bitches.
I mean, that's basically true, but it shouldn't have to be true.
Well, exactly, yeah. It's fucking tragic. You don't even have the balls to imagine a world where we're not fucking bent over a table every time we go into a meeting with them. Look, at least Zelensky had the fucking balls to argue back. He didn't pull out a fucking letter from the... Well, they don't have a king, but that's not the point.
We cooperate on security and defence. We've got shared values in the world.
Actually, just talking about security and defence.
Shared values.
Well, technically we do. Technically we do. We do support the genocide of the Palestinian people because we literally got planes taken off from RAF Akrotiri doing fucking recon for them. So technically we do have shared principles with them.
As you were.
It's just that those things are fucking monumentally evil, and our government is bad.
Saw the signal, the chat between the Secretary of State and the Defence Secretary in America on Signal, which was then an American journalist was included in, which is why we know about it.
I find with the great one, isn't the answer to Trump to cut benefits? True. It's the only answer.
And you got the Defence Secretary saying, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic in capital letters. Now, I know that the government thinks, yes, we should be spending more on defence. Putting that to one side, what did you think of that language?
Well, as a government spokesperson, you'll know full well, Fiona, I can't provide a running commentary on these things. But what I will say...
Oh, go on. Were you insulted? Were you insulted?
But what I will say...
Do you have any backbone or semblance of self-respect whatsoever?
No, of course not.
No,
Labour MPs, backbones, spines.
No.
Is that the UK plays an important role on defence and security.
Well, they don't seem to think so.
No,
they think we're freeloaders. And they're pathetic.
Not us. Not us. And
well, they didn't say not the Brits. I mean, he just said...
Well, he also said that some random European countries who haven't fought a war for 30 to 40 years, when only Britain and France were there. So, yeah. So, like, he literally doesn't think that our going along with them in Iraq and Afghanistan counts.
Yeah. Or Libya, or in Syria, or in Sierra Leone.
Or when I think of Syria, I always think Hillary Ben's best hour, that one, definitely. Should be very proud of yourself, Hillary. Your father would have been fucking disgusted.
Europeans,
exactly.
We are Europeans.
And I think the American administration were very clear.
No, we're not. We're not. We voted Brexit. We're not Europeans anymore. That doesn't count. This isn't the Brexit I voted for.
Welcome British leadership on defence and security. So look, like I said, none of these things are easy, but I think we are taking the right diplomatic approach, using our skills and our experience and our relationships around the world that we should be proud of to fight for British interests, but also to fight for the rules-based order internationally. And we need to keep making that.
You are literally aiding and abetting the genocide of the Palestinians now. Now, right now. You refused to say that if Benjamin Netanyahu turned up, you would arrest him, even though you are a signatory to the fucking convention at The Hague. You fucking evil bastards. The international rules-based order, suck my fucking anus.
I mean, it's always been a smoke screen. It's always been an illusory set of rules-based order. And at least now, it's up in the open. It never really existed.
Yeah, it's a joke. And I tell you who did that, who broke it fundamentally, was George W. Bush. Oh, we need to get UN approval. We didn't get UN approval. Fuck it, we're doing it anyway.
You want to take us to The Hague? Cool, we'll fucking invade.
Yeah, we literally will, yeah.
And I see you're choosing your words very carefully there, Derek.
I have to, Fiona, I have to.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a man, you've got a dark jacket on.
Why? Trump doesn't. Trump and Vance don't choose their fucking words very carefully. I bet you have some bollocks, mate.
Yeah, I think the problem is at home. It's not with Donald Trump. Donald Trump wasn't responsible for the closure of the Vauxhall Car Works or having the most expensive electricity in Europe. It's the rush to net zero is the problem, not Donald Trump.
Oh, for fuck's sake! He almost had a. I thought he was going to make a point, and then he went like fucking Rupert Lowe or whatever, you know.
And it's just insane to say this when we do have the most expensive energy in Europe, and it's because of marginal cost pricing and our continued over-reliance on international gas markets. Like, there was a reason why the gas price went up and it made our energy even more expensive when there was a war in Ukraine. If we entirely had renewables and we had net zero, we'd have no gas that we'd be using for energy.
Also, how do you explain all of the car factories that closed before global warming was even on the agenda of the British government?
Exactly.
Like, most of our industries were destroyed before net zero was even a phrase anyone had ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Comes to tariffs, do you think he's doing the right thing?
No.
Okay.
He hadn't got a fucking clue. Look at him. How is the back of his head that much wider than the front of his head?
Yeah, it's true.
That is odd. That's a strange triangular man.
Man there in the black sweater.
Question for the panel. Do you think that we are cozying up to Trump because we're a little bit concerned about any support for potential military support in the future, if you like?
I think we probably...
No. Not really.
I mean, he might fucking do Article 5 on Greenland.
That's true. But then, again, I've told you this, it's going to be a refracting, never-ending NATO on NATO war. Because America will have to go into... it will invade Denmark, which means as a signatory, it will have to declare war on itself for an act of aggression against a NATO nation. And then, because it's invaded itself in order to defend Denmark from itself, Denmark and everyone else will have to invade America and themselves for having acts of aggression against other NATO nations ad infinitum.
We know the answer to that, don't we? Yes.
I'd like to hear it.
Well, look, NATO is an important part of our security arrangements, and we want to continue to collaborate with the Americans on making sure we've got the capacity in NATO to react to events, whether it's Putin and Russia or
up to Trump,
or others.
That's the question.
We need to continue to work together. I mean, there's no question about that, yeah.
All right. We talk about Trump every week at the moment, so I'm going to end it there, because
I'm
I suspect
fucking
we'll probably
bored of
talk
that
about
shit.
Donald
Yeah, it's
Trump next
very
week as well.
annoying.
In what context, I couldn't say. Right, let's take a question now from Shay Smith. Shay, where are you? Off you go.
Good evening, panel. Children's mental health services are in crisis, with over 270,000 young people awaiting support in England. As a parent that waited over 2 years for a referral, what action needs to be taken to support what is fast becoming another lost generation?
Gosh, Shay, so you mentioned...
Well, I tell you what will definitely not help. Adding another 50,000 young people to the list of the poverty. Because literally that will exacerbate any mental health issues they may have. Or indeed create new ones that they didn't have. Yippee!
Parent of a child that's waited over 2 years for referral. Do you mind, if you're happy to, telling us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we went from probably...
this is question time, not story
my
time.
youngest child bounding into school every day, head child at school, to overnight, once getting COVID, turning into a a completely shadow of a self-crippling anxiety, not even being able to leave the house sometimes.
Well, if she's not 22, she's fucked.
No, clearly, if she's 19, then she can just get over it. Just get over it, mate. Sorry.
Yeah. What's that? You're depressed? Don't be.
Have you
Simple.
tried thinking about that differently?
Yeah. Have you tried just doing some exercise? You'd probably be fine.
2 years waiting for CAMS to even get a conversation led us to many frustrations. We took a private route. We were lucky that we could actually pay for private care, load up our credit cards, as many people. I dread to think of people who couldn't be in that position to do that. Went through all of that route. We're now 3 or 4 years on, and the care is patchy. It's uncoordinated. Unless you find someone who is exceptional, which we're very lucky in Bexley that we have found a very talented care worker, then I think it's completely inconsistent across the country, which really does worry me. There's still no end.
They were hoping this was... Camilla Tominey was hoping for a much worse end to this story. You just fucking blue-balled her. She was hoping like some awful shit, like she hasn't had any care and she ended up topping herself. That's what she was hoping for.
Have you considered we should try growing the economy?
Press the grow economy button and kill the poor.
To this is
in Minecraft or something. It's a joke.
Every day we're dealing with it, but it could change overnight. But at the moment, I think when we worry about the lack of funding that's coming through, we worry about the fact that we just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Oh, Shay, well, look, thank you for sharing your story with us, and wish you and your family all the very best. Daisy, I mean, 2 years waiting for a referral.
Yeah. Shay, my heart goes out to you, and I'm sorry to...
But unfortunately, we did have to cut all of those services for a 5p bag tax. Yeah, that's right. Every fucking time you talk, I'm going to mention it. Prick.
say that your story is not a lonely one. There are thousands and thousands of families who have the same experience, and I know them from my own constituency as well, and there are many really heartbreaking stories. So we know that mental health problems set in at a very early age. And we Liberal Democrats have said for a long time we should have a mental health expert in every single primary and secondary school, because young people who go on as adults to have a long-term mental health problem, that mental health problem is normally established by the age of 14. So we've got to get a mental health expert in every primary and secondary school to do that early preventative work. We also want to see walking community hubs for mental health in every single community. That's actually something that I think every political party has supported. That was one of the only policies that every political party was supporting.
So why has that never even happened then? Because that's not a thing that exists.
Because there's no money left. The money birds have all left because we left the EU.
That's true. The Brexit dividend would have allowed it, but unfortunately... So not Brexit dividend, Remain, rejoin, whatever. Fuck off.
Remain together in the last general election, and we really want to see those rolled out.
But it's not even Remain dividend, because we've already left. So it's the wrong tense.
The rejoin dividend.
Yeah, exactly. You can't remain once you've left.
We need to put an end
Also,
to out of
worth
area
pointing out a
placement.
good point in chat that there was a shadow minister for mental health in the shadow cabinet when the Labour were in opposition, and they fucking got rid of her because she was too critical of Wesley Streeting.
Well, you can't ever go with the future Prime Minister.
No, I absolutely can't. Dissent in the ranks.
Young people that have very acute mental health that need to become
500 fucking votes. So
500 votes.
Patients. Often they're placed 100 or 200 miles away from their families and their networks, and that doesn't help their recovery. We've got to make sure that young people can stay in their local area, and we've got to make sure that the young service, the CAM service for children and adolescents, actually goes all the way up to 25, so they avoid that cliff edge where the support drops away at 18. So those are just 4 tangible ways that we Liberal Democrats would really like to help solve that problem of mental health problems amongst young people.
And actually, let me just say, for those of you not familiar with the acronym, CAMS is Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. Camilla.
I'm sorry for what you're going through, and it's not the first time I've heard a parent talk about children just not wanting to go to school. In fact, I had that very conversation this week with a dad who cannot get both children into school. There is certainly a COVID effect here, and I don't think we can deny that. And I'm not saying this with the benefit of hindsight. At the time on the Telegraph, we campaigned during the pandemic for schools to be open. We also campaigned when it came to the COVID.
Yeah, but that's just because you wanted their parents to go back to work and earn money for billionaires, you evil bastard. You didn't give a fuck that they were going to catch all kinds of diseases. You didn't give a shit about any of that. Don't pretend this was for the good of the mental health of children, you bastard.
Yeah, I mean, where's your calling for the post hoc funding for mental health services to deal with the problem, you know?
Yeah.
You go, oh, protect the businesses, oh, we want to poor businesses, no, can't tax that for mental health care, no.
That was initially not going to look at the impacts on children. And we said, this is insane. We have to look at what has happened to a whole generation. I interviewed a primary school head teacher this week who was talking about the lack of preparedness that 5-year-olds are going to have now for senior school. Okay, these are the children that were babies in COVID. They weren't adequately socialised, and they are coming to school, a lot of them more than would ordinarily be the case, in nappies, ill-prepared, and all the rest of it. Having said all that, if you study the...
True, but to be fair, there's a lot of members of the House of Lords who turn up in nappies as well. So I don't think it's like... it's not the end of the world, is it, really?
Impacts on children of smartphones. This was happening back in around 2012. There was a slow creep of issues being suffered by children and adolescents as a result of being online. Lots of work has been done on it by a great many people, including Dr. Jonathan Haidt, who's written The Anxious Generation. You look at any of the graphs, and up and up they go when it comes to children suffering from anxiety, children self-harming. Something has happened.
Every time, it's fucking Jonathan Haidt. I'm so bored of him.
Talking of Jonathan's on board with, I don't know if you saw who GB News got on to talk about the disability cuts.
Now, still to come, former Labour Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary Jonathan Ashworth and the former Conservative Chancellor.
Oh my God, it's a fucking absolute cunt hive, isn't it? Jesus. Richard Madeley, Jonathan Ashworth and Kwasi Kwarteng.
The trifecta of twats. Oh, honestly, I just can't escape this man. He's just on my fucking telly all the time. Oh, like, it's the only sour part of him losing his seat. Because you never saw him when he was in fucking Parliament. Now he's on the telly every fucking day.
Communications between, frankly, adults and children have broken down. It's not just children on screens, it's also parents on screens. The argument is that we are overprotecting them in the offline world and underprotecting them in the online world. And I think that is now coming home to roost with our children. We sort of experimented with this technology, thinking that in some way, because technology...
It's amazing how the smartphone overlaps quite strongly in terms of time with the austerity era. I wonder if maybe they're displacing the credit, quote unquote, for this problem to the smartphone and not maybe something else.
Yeah, it's so convenient for all of the people who championed austerity and the stripping back of the public realm and lack of access to all of these services that would keep people sane. Miraculously, none of this is a problem, and it's all just the phones. And even then, like, even if you want to give credence to this idea, because I'm not against the idea that maybe the phones aren't the best for people, because certainly they have some problems. But it's the phones as a thing that are a problem. Oh, it's just the screens. You look at the screen bad, screen bad, you know? When we've looked at television screens for decades. Yeah. That's not caused the same thing. Yet they refuse to look at, for example, the fucking corporations, the people who control the algorithms, the one that wants us to hate each other because it drives engagement and AdSense revenue. You know, maybe there's a problem here that is not specific to the technology, but specific to how it's used.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, get the fucking evil bastards who run these corporations to do something about it. In the same way that you shouldn't be able to pump sludge into the waters, you shouldn't be able to pump sludge into our children's fucking faces as well.
Literally.
Technology had changed, children have changed. Children haven't changed. They're as vulnerable as they've ever been. They've needed boundaries, and we are exposing them to this world that we have little or no control over. And we're now trying to put this genie back in the bottle with online safety bills.
Okay, yeah. Why don't we have any control over it? Would it be because of the political and economic system that you have championed, your entire adult life, which meant hands off, zero regulation, get rid of the red tape, the free market will solve it all. You were the problem here.
Yep.
And talks about whether we should be banning mobile phones. But I don't think we can underestimate the pernicious effect that smartphone use has had, and not just on one generation now. I think we're really talking about 2 or 3.
Okay, and obviously what no one is making here, including Camilla, is a comment on your particular situation.
No.
Because we don't know. And we also want to reserve some privacy for your child that you're talking about. But you're talking in the general, I know, Camilla. Yes, young woman here.
So it took me a while to get in touch with the mental health services in my area.
Pronouns!
They weren't particularly helpful at the start at all, but I can understand that because they're so overstretched and underfunded and underappreciated, and I don't think that the government really do much for them. Like, it's all well and good saying I respect like the idea of mental.
Okay, you don't need glasses that big. You don't. That's a choice that's been made there. Pronouns in bio, enough said.
Health hubs, but where are the people coming from?
Because who are going to staff them?
Like, yeah, because there's not enough people in the NHS. There weren't enough people to deal with a lot of people that I know. So
I mean, there's the first person to talk about austerity.
Yeah, true.
Turns out pronouns in bio is a good metric to decide whether someone's point is bad or good.
Literally.
If they look like they have their pronouns in bio, they almost certainly have a point that's actually relevant to the topic at hand.
It's almost like the people they accuse of being woke are just not evil.
Yeah, just, people who are good.
Mad, isn't it?
This woman at the very back. Yeah.
Given the harm that the US tech giants, their platforms are causing our children, can we not raise the digital services tax and use the revenue to put into child mental health support? Because,
No, they're literally going to do
7%.
the literal opposite of that and get rid of the tiny sales tax we do already have. Because Elon Musk is now the king of Earth. That's it. That's literally, he bought the world. He's so rich, he bought the fucking world.
Okay, yes, and with the glasses there, yeah.
Again, whenever you say raise taxes on rich bastards, no matter where it is in the country, you get a round of applause. No matter fucking where, even in like posho fucking home counties places, you still get around at least a ripple of applause. Everywhere. And yet none of the bastards will do it.
Blue and white top, yes.
I think this all goes back to what the government spending is targeting, because the government spending should be targeting the issues that British people are worried about, the mental health, cost of living crisis, the housing crisis, and not defence spending. So I think the Labour government really needs to take a look and essentially reflect on what the government spending is allocated on.
Okay, so you'd rather see less on defence spending or more on mental health?
Yes.
Yes.
Richard.
Fucking hell, yes.
Well, actually, just hearing you threw me back to a constituency case that I had. I remember seeing 2 parents.
I've stood next to someone with mental health problems. I don't give a fuck though. Still voted for all of the George Osborne budgets that slashed the NHS.
Yeah. Yeah. I once knew a disabled. Yeah, thanks, mate.
I think all the marriage was on the rocks as well by that point, with a really difficult case of their child and coming to see me and working with me over a number of months to get inpatient mental health care for their daughter. And we did in the end, and she went on to recovery and all sorts of positive things. But I think...
Why did you tell us that like that meant anything? That was irrelevant, mate. Look, we know you don't care about disabled people. So the fact that you met one once and it worked out okay, so fuck them, I guess. Is that your point?
Basically.
Oh God, I despise these people.
And I don't comment on your case, but I think Camilla makes an important and broader point around.
Don't blame me. Don't blame us. Don't blame
off.
anything we did in government. Don't blame anything that we did that might have caused this problem. No. Blame the phones. No skin off my nose. I'm completely blameless.
It's the rippity rap music, and the Dungeons and Dragons.
Literally.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you to the people who've subscribed. Much love too, yeah. What was I going to say? Someone had a fucking point in chat. I can't remember. Yeah, when was the last time fucking Gary spoke? Jesus Christ. He gave his piss poor answer fucking half an hour ago.
We talk about it sometimes in the workplace, but I think actually for children, it's even more ever present. It used to be a case of perhaps if children were facing problems at school, at least at the school gates, the sort of issues could stop. Whereas with the always online presence of smartphones, I think is a real concern for, you know.
Oh yeah, there was no bullying at schools in the past. What fucking world are you living in? What are you talking about?
A lot of parents.
So do you want to follow Australia's example and ban smartphones for under 16s?
I want to ban smartphones in schools. I think when outside schools, I think, you know, we've got to give parents some responsibility on that. And perhaps I am up for an age limit, but I think within schools we shouldn't be having that smartphones and that constant presence. But I also think that there is a real responsibility on some of the online giants as well. I think taxing them is one thing, but I think the real thing we need to do is get the content taken offline. And some of the stuff I saw recently with one of my friends who'd had issues with her weight, and the constant reinforcement again and again and again of images of dieting and extreme things, really extreme elements of anorexia, I found really distressing, even for me, to see an adult friend of mine. So the impact that must have on children is so strong, and which is why I think actually it's, you know, and it is through the smartphones. So I think a smartphone ban in schools is absolutely necessary.
So Darren, Labour promised to provide a specialist mental health professional in every school, rather as the Lib Dems wanted, and establish something called Young Futures Hubs, drop-in mental health support hubs, and recruit an additional 8,500 new mental health staff to treat children and adults. That was in your manifesto. Has any of that happened?
Well, we're working through the spending review now to figure out how we're going to allocate that money and how we'll be able to...
Wow, it was such a priority.
It's been 6 months since the budget.
Yeah, it's been 6 months since the budget. You had fucking years to plan for all of this before you got into government. And you're now getting round to beginning to work out how you're going to allocate those funds. What a priority people's mental health is for you. Honestly, bravo. Fucking excellent work.
To roll it out. I mean,
amongst all the spending cuts that we're being softened up for, is any of that realistic now?
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's why the question, you know, when people are critical about tax changes, it raises the question more.
I'll just say, put a pin in that. Yes, it is realistic. We'll come back to it in a few months,
You need to get the money in to be able to pay for these things. We've already put £25 billion extra into the NHS, and there's going to be more coming. But look, the system is totally failing, and I'm so sorry to hear about your daughter. I mean, my second daughter's been in hospital.
Go fuck yourself, mate. Hello there, My Left Eye. Everyone go follow My Left Eye immediately.
Do it immediately, right now.
All week, and I know how hard it is, even when they're getting the care that they need to get. I can't imagine what it must be like to know that you can't even, you know, get the care that you need. And as a constituency MP, I've had so many cases, even where constituents who can afford to pay for private care, the private providers are full. And so they're just a complete loss. I mean, this is not what the NHS was created to do. The NHS was created to be there when you need them. And the fact is, we've got to put more money into the system. We've got to make sure we're spending that money more effectively. We've got to be hiring.
What the fuck is that point, you cunt? What, mental health care, what, there isn't a specific time when you need them? What is that point you've just made?
Again, just trying to talk about the symptom rather than the cause. It's the whole problem of all of this. Just going, oh, I've got to put the money in because it's supposed to be there, but it's not there. Just say people are ill because the Conservative government was shit. Like, you've done it for everything else. Why don't you do it for the actual thing, which is true?
Yeah.
Additional members of staff that we need, which is what we're absolutely committed to doing. And as we've been talking about more broadly, we've got to figure out how we stop people getting sick in the first place and not just treat people once they've gotten sick, because ultimately that's why you keep spending more and more on a whole range of different illnesses that we're trying to help people with. So it's absolutely right. We need to be thinking about how we regulate online technology companies, but also think about how we prevent people getting sick in other circumstances, and that's what we're working really hard to deliver.
Gary?
First of all, thank you. Thank you to Shay and thank you to the lady at the front. as somebody who's had difficulties with mental health and I've written about them, it's not always easy to come out and say there's still a taboo about these things. So it's important that you talk about them. I think we need to talk about the unbelievably hostile circumstances young people face with regards to their economic futures. More and more and more young people growing up in poverty. But even aside from that, we've got people with jobs in London who are homeless. So that means if you're a young person, you know that even if you get an ordinary job, it's not going to be enough to buy a home. It's not going to be enough to have a family. So just doing the right thing, working and getting a job, it doesn't even guarantee you can feed your kids. You know, we have to look at this. And then obviously if you're a young person, you're thinking...
Honestly, if he carries on answering with economic, like material conditions, the state are going to kill him.
Literally, like McCarthy is going to rise from his grave and send him off to Bukele's Salvadorian gulags.
He's going to get fucking Epsteined, so to speak. Or he might fall out of a window, perhaps. I don't know. He's very...
Yeah, he'll get treat him like Putin treats the oligarchs.
True. He's going to... He is good, because you've got to answer with economics, ultimately. Now, it's not the end of it, right? Because, of course, even if the economic situation was perfect, mental health problems would still exist. Of course they would. But there are ways of not exacerbating the problem with, like, horrific existential dread at the mere possibility of having to exist.
Yes, exactly.
Like, that's going to fuck you up, man. I don't know how they can't possibly see that. Well, actually, no. Again, we've got to stop letting him off the hook as if they're ignorant of this. They know this, they just don't fucking care.
Well, I don't think they do know it. I think they live in a fucking magic bubble that's self-sealed. That means that they have literally zero contact with the real world. You remember Fiona Bruce saying? You remember Fiona Bruce saying, "I'm surprised that you have to travel 30 miles to see a dentist because they don't live in the real world. They live on £400,000 fucking BBC salaries."
True, but that's Fiona Bruce. I think your average MP, who not all of them do surgeries, in Clacton or anywhere else, but a lot of them will have done surgeries and will have heard these stories. They're aware of these problems. They're aware of their constituents. They might not be aware of the prevalence of it around the country because, like you say, they're certainly Westminster pilled, aren't they? Westminster bubbled, but they're aware to a degree of it, and they just don't really care. Because they don't think it's either that big of an issue, or maybe some of them are genuine believers and think if we just grow the economy, it'll be fine. Honest.
Well, that's what the Tories think, right? The Tories, they think it's not my problem. My job as a government is to grow the economy, and then hopefully that'll trickle down to you, and you can help yourself eventually, right? And that's their ideological position. It's unforgivable for Labour, who's supposed to believe that the state can help you. He's just going, computer says no, grow the economy.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't get the best grades and I don't get to the best university, then I'm not even going to be able to have a family. What kind of world have we made here? We need to look at we always look at the individual. This person has a mental health problem. This person has a mental health problem. It doesn't come out of nowhere. These people don't just suddenly get sick. My dad worked for the post office and he had a family and he bought a house and he has a retirement, he has a pension. Kids can't get that. Kids can't get that. Unless they make millions of pounds, they can't even have a family. It's ridiculous, It's not just a problem for individuals.
Well, that's another thing, yeah. They'll go, why aren't people having kids? Because literally we can't afford to feed ourselves now, let alone another absolutely dependent person. And then we don't even have housing for ourselves now, let alone another, dependent person. And the future's bleak as fuck. The Nazis are fucking taking over, and Elon Musk wants to put chips in everyone's fucking heads.
And the world is dying.
And the world is literally burning up to death. Yeah,
exactly.
Brilliant.
And not only is there the depression of knowing that you're never going to own a house and your housing costs make it impossible for you to be able to do everything else in your life. You've also got the fucking sting of knowing that you're paying the third mortgage for Ethel and Gordon to go off there for their fucking third cruise round the Med this year, right? So you're not just breeding depression, you're breeding resentment and spite.
Well, look, you say you'll never own a house, but you never know. Mr. Beast might feature you in a video, might get a house or surgery. God, he's a fucking twat. Anyway, thank you, Snazbot, for scaring the shit out of me. Love you. Fight the good fight. Well, thank you very much, Snazbot. Snazbot, even. Much love to you. Go and give, well, not you specifically, but in general, people go and give No Justice money as well.
Do, please do.
Because she's fucking awesome. She literally does Navarra and that. She's off the telly and that. She's famous.
I'm true. I'm a television person now.
Yeah. I did that with Curtis the other day. I was on Normal Island, and I just said, "Oh, you Curtis off the telly? Can I have your autograph, please?" Bless him.
It's a societal problem. We need to make sure young people have economic opportunity.
Yes.
Yes. I'm going to take another question, but let's let you
He's
have the
good.
last word.
Yes, so one thing, just following on from that's not necessarily been covered, that worries me is the inconsistency across the country. You can have a you can have a service in a London borough that is excelling and getting funding, and you can have the neighbouring council that's struggling. Nothing's.
And imagine how much worse that is. The fact that there are places in, like, the northeast of England where there isn't anywhere that's good for these issues. You just can't. There are, even in like Birmingham. Not only can you not get your fucking bins emptied, you can't get a fucking GP's appointment or a mental health care worker or anything. You're basically fucked.
That Cinderella sort of service, and that to me, I think, is getting worse.
The patchiness of the provision.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we thank you for asking your question. Thank you very much, Shay. Right. On a completely different subject, and we've only got about 5-6 minutes left, but quite a few of you asked about this.
Might be able to skip it.
Why, given where we are. Gemma Taylor, where are you sitting?
With up to $5 billion being saved on welfare, is an estimated $9 billion on 2 tunnels and no rail links money well spent?
Don't care.
Everyone in the audience will know what you're talking about.
Fine. Random local issue. I'm sure plenty of people in the audience had a good time talking about that. I couldn't give a shit.
I'll just say it's not necessarily money well spent, but I'd rather have some money spent on some infrastructure somewhere than none anywhere. But can we have maybe something north of Watford at some point, please? Maybe
that would be very, very nice.
Because that would be cool if we had literally any amount of spending anywhere at all outside of the home counties. Thanks. And on that bombshell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you everyone for listening and watching to what was better just because there was one lone voice screaming in the darkness that is the otherwise horrificness of British politics. Gary, he's good. That one answer was a bit but whatever. He's good. I'm glad we've got someone who can cut through the crap. Look, I don't need him to speak like a fucking professor. We've got plenty of wankers like that. Just someone who can say, no, tax rich bastards. The rich bastards are stealing your money. Literally that point. Unless you've got 20 grand richer, someone's got your 20 grand.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
It's such a good point. It's such an excellent point. And that puts it into the individual, perspective that people can really understand. Because when you're talking about trillions of dollars, this, that, and the other, that's too big. Whereas, are you 20 grand richer? No. Well, where's your 20 grand then? Yeah, where is my fucking 20 grand? And he gets the peanuts percolating. Yeah, for anyone who's just coming new people, the Pokemon, the thing that they're seeing on my screen that you can't see, is from Turkey, where in the protests/riots, a guy dressed up as an inflatable Pikachu is running away from riot police.
Incredible.
What a timeline to live in, really. Come on now.
Also, scores on the doors, we have total interruptions were 6 for Gary and 12 for everybody else.
Literally the opposite of what I said.
But that means he got interrupted twice as many times per capita.
Well, that is also true, but literally the opposite way around. I said 2 to 1 the other way.
Yeah.
I'm a fool.
Anyway, should we move on into the serfs? Farm some clout?
Let's fucking go. I'm all for that.
Covering some drama stuff, which they must have missed out with our very serious politics. So,
yeah. What are they covering? Do we know?
Apparently, Noah Samson's going to get sued by Mutahar and by Ethan Klein.
Awesome.
But potentially implying that people should attack them in the streets.
Disavow.
She said, we have like literally said like we have direct access to these people in real life, and I'm like, that sounds a bit dodge, mate.
Disavow, definitely.
Disavow, we absolutely fucking disavow shit. Right, everyone go follow KF Logan 1875 on all of the platforms: Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff.
Everyone go and follow No Justice MTG on all of the platforms forthwith.
Immediately. Take care and stay safe and free Palestine, and I'll
Free
see you
Palestine.
all on Saturday.
Well, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Yes, go follow Kev so you can watch the happy hour. Bye bye.